the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Everybody, and welcome to Road Atlanta, and welcome to the home stretch of this championship. You're watching the PRL GT3 Fixed and Sprint Series here tonight, Tuesday nights on the PRL. Always a lot of fun. 35 minutes for the Fixed Series, as always, 40 minutes for the Sprint a little bit later on. And we've applied the drop weeks to our standings, which means we are very much at the home stretch of our season. Brett Furman is now our championship leader ahead of Ricardo Delgado, and only 13 points separate them as we head into Road Atlanta, the 6th round of our championship for season 1 of 2025. I'm Ewan O'Leary alongside Jareth Thacker. Welcome to the hills of Road Atlanta and Georgia in America. It's good to be back alongside you, Darren, for this one. I'm expecting some good racing around here, a classic circuit for GT3s, and a big field once again. Already 45 drivers currently out there qualifying.
Yeah, a couple of circuits, I think, in the last couple of weeks where drivers may feel like they were bottled up a touch with the characteristics of the circuit, but here at Road Atlanta, we may see a little bit of that being released. You know, classic overtaking spots, turn 1, down at the turn 10 chicane. It could be an interesting circuit and really give us a good picture of where we sit in the championship with only 3 rounds to go after this.
Yep, Donington, Bathurst, Hockenheim to end our season, which should be a lot of fun. No rain in the Fixed Series, by the way, confirmed, so 0% chance on every race, so don't have that to worry about, even if we will be talking about that a little bit later on in what is in store in the rest of the season, because half the races remaining do have chances of rain in the Sprint Series. In the championship standings, as I mentioned, Brett Furman is now the leader because the drop weeks have been applied and his bad round at Daytona has been wiped away. Ricardo Delgado hasn't really had a bad round so far, but that hasn't put him in quite as good a step as you might think. 13 points behind him with Felix Feliz, a further 8 back. Then you've got Jason Park, who is on 182 at the moment, just a few points ahead of Sunnyside, David Bush the third. Then you've got Andrew Trickett and Jay Steffi, who are tied on points. Then Dale Pedersen and Matt Scherf rounding out the top 10. In the AM standings, Colin McKenzie's leading by only 13 now because of the drop weeks. Pete Measure has got a lot closer. Luke Davis is falling quite a long way adrift now with Regan and Ryan Chandler 4th and 5th. Then it's Thomas Rep and Aaron Sunday who are tied in 6th, ahead of Nick Bruno, Joel Pagaro and Ian Southern rounding out the top 10. In the team standings, the Lunatic Racing team are leading the way by, again, just 13 points, with SRT Orange in 3rd. It's Wright Motorsport in 4th, and all of those 4 teams separated by just 18 points. It's a wonderful teams championship to watch for the rest of the season. Just 3 points between B&O Cartomania and Sim Racing PR. 50 points further back to E3 Motorsport, Parabella Cobalt, Crikey Esports and Tachyon Simsport rounding out the field. The very weird occasion of all 3 of our championships being separated by just 13 points here at the end of round number 5. But we'll talk about that in a moment. But before that, let's thank the sponsors who make these broadcasts possible, of course, starting with Logitech G. Logitech G wheels and pedals are equipped with true force feedback to help you feel the road and own the race. Use code PRECISION at checkout on logitechg.com for 5 to 10% off your purchase. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on airside products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. Bookkicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And finally, get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. Just under 5 minutes remain in qualifying here at Road Atlanta as we get ready for round 6 of the PRL GT3 Fixed Series season. And one thing I've got to say I've noticed, Darragh, from watching some of these shots early on, it's a very busy qualifying session. We expected it to be close. 6 drivers covered by 10th is slightly ridiculous, but expected, although Chase Steffi's just ruined that by going to the top of the standings with a 18-2 at the moment. It does seem like this session, this 20-minute session, has been a struggle for everyone to find some free track space to use in this qualifying session.
Yeah, it's not the longest of circuits that we'll go to this season here at Road Atlanta. Often a problem that we do face here, and with it being not the longest of circuit, you would necessarily not be too surprised to see how close these lap times are. But a very technical circuit. If you get offline in the opening sector, it really can kick you offline throughout the rest. You can lose, 10th upon 10th. So to see some of these times as close as they are really is impressive. Colin McKenzie, of course, doing a fantastic job in that number 15 in the AM class, just continuing to hammer home the advantage he currently has in that AM Championship and looking to put even more distance between himself and the rest of the field. But this really could come down to the final lap or two with still a couple of minutes left in the session. It's far from over realistically.
Just one thing, by the way, have you ever seen a championship with all 3 championships separated by the same margin between first and second? That's absolutely extraordinary, by the way. It's probably a nerdy thing.
Yeah, I haven't ever seen that. Especially at this kind of stage of the season. And 13 is also just such a random number.
It is,
wow.
Yeah. I take your point. I realise what I just said happens every single time for round 2 of every championship that's ever happened. That's a very good point. However, yes, I should specify, that's after 5 rounds. And a drop week applied, by the way. It's not even like they've matched their results. They've got drop weeks and all sorts. It's a miracle, really. But anyway, just wait until we get to the pro driver standings for the Sprint Series, by the way. What a close championship that is. All that's to look forward to in the second hour of our programme here tonight on RaceSpotTV as we look at Ricardo Delgado. Wonder what he will have thought having looked at the standings this week. I'm sure he has done. He's been the championship leader right from round 2 when he won at Daytona, which backed up his runner-up spot from Long Beach, but unfortunately he's 13 points adrift from Brett Furman, which for a driver who's finished at worst 4th place feels like quite a long way off.
Yeah, it's slightly weird, really, when you think about it that way. But there is still time in the championship. There is still time for these good results to almost come to him towards the end. He's clearly got the ability to get some good results, and I think he'll know that in the back of his mind. It's just about performing when it matters. Qualifying is the first step in doing that. Only another minute or 2 to get those laps underway and get it on the board, because the pressure is going to start to be on somewhat. And if you are the likes of the drivers just inside the edge of that top 10, you'll be looking to move forward just a little bit and get yourself a little bit closer to the front and some big points.
Jason Parker's moved up there, 2nd place for him, just in the background of the shot we're watching there on the front straight. Long way down, unfortunately, yet so far for David Morse. 29th at the moment for him. There's Andrew Trickett, who moves up to 9th. P&O Cartamania. Oh, he's in a bit of traffic here. It's exactly what I was talking about just as we came to this qualifying session. Always someone in the way, it feels like, at times around this circuit. So far, Colin McKenzie is the first of the AMs. This is Neil Alexander, who's down in 28th at the moment in the Ferrari. He's just made his way round turn number 1. It's a good championship lead for Colin McKenzie, but it's only 13 points. His drop week has cost him 14 points compared to Pete Measure, who had a difficult 3rd round at Jerez, which means he's a lot closer now. Colin McKenzie, again, hasn't really had a bad round so far. His worst result is 12th, and that's for an AM driver back at Daytona. So he's got quite a drop week to fall back on, and it feels like he is in prime position to win this championship as well. At the moment, Pete Measure is not even here, so effectively this is going to become his drop week at Jerez. Measure finished in 26th place. That's effectively what McKenzie's going up against. If McKenzie finishes in the top 26, he'll be gaining points.
Yeah, that's it really does put in perspective how, you know, or where he's going to be able to benefit himself throughout the rest of the championship, because being able to get himself into good positions and, you know, not really worry about that drop round is going to enable him to move forward, gain points generally on some of his competitors. I think even for some drivers as well, with drop rounds being applied, the drop rounds are so high that even if they have a decent result, they could still pick up a very large chunk of points, and particularly at the front of that Pro Championship, with Brett Thurman's drop round only being 17 points and Ricardo Delgado's being 48. If both of them have an okay evening and finish in the teens, then all of a sudden Ricardo Delgado is just going to appear in the championship battle by virtue of being able to take on his points that he's already won. So there's always that concern, especially for drivers who feel like they're at the top of the championship already.
Yeah, and if Delgado was leading, everyone would be thinking, well, how can we take this to the last round? Because you do need to be very careful you're not too far away. Admittedly, you can't take your drop week on the last round, but even so, you do need to keep them in check. There goes David Bush over the line. He's not going to improve from there. 5th place for the driver of the Audi. It's Acura on the front row. Jay Steffi and Jason Park look like they've got the front row locked out here. There's Dale Pedersen, 9th place. Although he's 4th in Acura land, because Colin McKenzie has gone ahead of him. There's Andrew Trickett. Is he improving late on here in the Porsche? That's 3rd and 4th, the Porsches at the moment in the field, and no, that's not an improvement for Trickett. Certainly seems that as we came to stop watching this session, nobody really was improving anymore. So that is that. It's the Acura that's taken or locked out the front row, and certainly by looking at a few officials this week, I've got to say that has looked like the car of choice to me.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that the Acura almost gained popularity somewhat as the car is being used a little bit more by drivers. It's emerged as one of the front runners in these GT3 races in the officials, as you say. And I'll be interested to see how it goes again tonight. Porsche, of course, still a relatively popular choice as well, particularly in this in this fixed series. A few McLarens kicking around as well. Everyone loves it. Well, if drivers love a McLaren, they love a McLaren. And that's why I've still got a few of them kicking around. And some Mustangs as well, which is always good to see.
Great variety in the series again this season. Not many manufacturers we don't see much of, actually, this season in the fixed series. Notice that Lamborghini is quite absent. Sam Smeltzer is here in a Lamborghini today, but he's the only one in the whole series of all 55 drivers, I should say, who have started a race at some point this season. He's the only one in the Lamborghini, which is a little bit odd. Yeah, a few Corvettes knocking around. Porsches, Acuras, even an Audi up towards the top. David Bush III been flying the flag for the Audi, which has been good in the last few weeks, but yeah, great variety again in the fixed series. Let's have a look at the grid then, shall we? Before we get into it. Oh no, we'll do that after this. Excuse me. We'll have a look at the pole time first. And again, you'll notice traffic all over the place here for Jay Steffi as he makes his way in towards turn 1.
Yeah, it's really the name of the game, and it will be, I think, to get through traffic earlier on. If you find yourself in the mid-pack, maybe a little bit further down on where you feel that your pace could be at the race, getting through is going to be crucial, but it's going to be oh so tricky. I mean, this is great lap time from Jay Steffi. I mean, you can see how close he is to the cars in front. He's got 4 at the moment within about, well, at a maximum 3 seconds ahead of him, so clearly would be in position to put him off somewhat, being able to keep the car well under control and keep it very nice and tight through the opening sector. This double right-hander, I'd argue, 2 of the most important corners on the racetrack. They're underrated for how important they could be. You can gain and lose so much time as a car on the outside. I don't know where they're off to, but it could be Tennessee. And then the run out towards the turn 10 chicane. This is a tidy lap from Jay Steffi, but you wouldn't necessarily know it to be the pole lap because he's not really gaining too much on the cars in front.
It's amazing the amount he's done this without the amount of distractions he's had. You know, people will talk about the slipstream down there, but he's only getting a whiff of it, really. And look how close they are here. They are right on the limit in terms of getting in his way. Now he will get a slight draft benefit, but there's not a long run towards the line here. That's a very good lap indeed from Jay Steffi to come. Oh, dear me. to convert like that with the traffic and distractions he had. Someone was off the road down there at turn 7, which I think you rightly say is a very important corner on this circuit with the straight after it. That's a remarkable pole lap from Jay Steffi, a picture of concentration there as he made his way round the lap here at Road Atlanta. Fantastic lap, one of the best we've seen all season, not particularly, as you say, for its driving prowess and its on the limitness, if that's a thing I can say, but also for the putting aside of distractions there. That was absolutely remarkable. Let's have a look at the starting grid then ahead of this race. 35 minutes will be put onto the clock very shortly once this warm-up session is completed in about 2.5 minutes time. It's Jake Steffi who has taken that pole position with an 18.2 with Jason Park alongside, an all Acura front row. Then an all Porsche row 2 with Tyler Graff and Brett Furman, the championship leader in 4th. David Buster third is 5th ahead of Ross Sortino, the final of the pro drivers before we get to the AM Porsche to Colin McKenzie, and 2nd place in the pro championship, Ricardo Delgado. Then it's Dale Pedersen and Andrew Trickett rounding out the top 10, followed by Jared Keane and Nick Bruno, an all Porsche row 6. Nick Bruno 2nd in the AMs, ahead of Sully Sad, another one of the Porsches. Then it's Jakob Fichtner, who is 3rd in AM, 14th overall, ahead of Andrew Ellis and Wardo Walden. Nikos Sanadakis is 17th ahead of Luke Davis, who rounds out row 9. Ian Cabana and Sam Smeltzer on the last spots of the top 20. The only Lamborghini just sneaking it into that top 20 ahead of Andrew Bonaro and Sean Stecker on row 11. Louis Ortiz and Davey Jensen are on the next row. Robert Jeffries and Evander Jonesfeld are on row 13, and Aaron Sunday and Joel Pagero on all AM row 14, with David Morse and Thomas Rep rounding out the top 30. One of the few Mustangs. It is Neil Alexander who is 31st ahead of Ian Southern, the first driver over a second off pole. Regan Chandler only 3 thousandths off of him. Then it is Kevin Berkowitz to round out row 17 with Dave Peterson and Seb Gauthier in row 18. It is then Sean Murphy and Sean Duhamel, Drew Duesse and Ryan Chandler round out the top 40, I should say. Scott Jeffries and Mark Sickow just miss out, with Matthew Harms the final driver to set a time. Sean Mulholland and Mark Bray didn't set times. Hopefully they do get onto the grid, although I've noticed a recurring theme in these last few weeks. At least one driver not getting onto the grid, even if they've done some of the earlier practice session. Well, I get the feeling this has got an important start for Ricardo Delgado. He started to lose ground last week by finishing 3rd when Thurman pretty comprehensively won the race at Zandvoort 7 days ago. Delgado was 5.8 seconds off the win that day. And I just get the feeling this is the point in the season where momentum could start to go the wrong way for him.
Yeah, and at a crucial circuit as well, it's kind of that tipping point. Round 6 of 9 is always that moment where you've almost gone from mid-season to we're into the final stretch in a very quick time frame, and that psychology can change really quickly. So drivers have to really be on top of it here to keep themselves as relevant as they feel that they are at this point throughout towards the end of the season. There is Tyler Graff. Of course, wasn't happy on the inset, was he, last week, about his penalty that he picked up at Zandvoort. I think I've seen a gif of that in the chat. So someone's done some absolutely excellent work. I think he's going to be hoping that he doesn't make it 2 weeks from 2 in that front.
You did indeed see a gif, by the way. I'm just watching it. It's it was thoroughly enjoyed by everybody.
Pretty good.
And that's very good to see. By the way, just read Pete Measure's message actually a couple of hours ago. Said very unfortunately he won't be able to make it tonight, and among the first to offer his unfortunateness is Conor McKenzie, who will certainly miss out his AM Championship contender out there. 84 degrees Fahrenheit on the circuit. We're racing on the 1st of March here this afternoon. It is the final time we will be racing in the month of March. Not that really matters in sim, I'm talking about, of course, because even when we get to March in real life for Hockenheim, we're not even racing in March, so make sense of that, if you will. I don't know. We are racing at different times in the year this season, not entirely matching up with the real life date, as we often have done. So just watch out for that. It is 1:10 in the afternoon, or a little bit later now. So the middle of the afternoon in the sim as of right now. So that is all to be factored in. Since it is March, the tyre temperatures won't be horrific by any means. Now then, I did see Jay Steffi disappear off the grid. It looks like he's not been able to get back onto it again. We are going to miss our pole sitter on the front row, and Tyler Graff effectively is going to assume the inside line on the front row. That is extraordinary. Jay Steffi, after a brilliant pole lap, is going to be forced to start in 45th position.
That's disgusting for Jay Steffi to put himself in such a great position for that all to become undone. He earned his way to the front of the field. And it's not necessarily been the easiest championship up to this point. One top 5 so far this season, but he's got so much work to do. And to start from P45, I mean, the amount of metal between himself and where he would have been is going to be absolutely monumental, and so much work to do. He's got 35 minutes to do it as well. Not the longest time either. Not quite the 1 hour that we get on a Monday night or a Thursday night here in the PRL. It's going to be so tricky, but he's going to back himself. That's all he really can do at this stage.
Or on a Sunday night, by the way. Get an hour for the IndyCars too. We had a week off, of course, for notable events happening on Sunday night. So hope you all enjoyed that, and hope you all enjoy us running on one extra week. We'll be finishing on the 9th of March at Pocono in the IndyCar Series, by the way. I hope you can join us for that. It will be a great finale to that championship. Live in the next round of that one, of course, on Sunday night as normal service resumes in the PRL. Run down towards turn 1 then. It's going to be very interesting. Tyler Graff on the inside line this time. He's got to be very careful he doesn't pick up a penalty for being in the wrong place, because that can happen on the front row, but he's got a big chance here.
Yeah, really good opportunity now for Tyler Graff. I mean, after the disappointment of last week, he's now been given a chance all of a sudden to rectify that somewhat and get himself back into a little bit of contention. I mean, of course, he had to take all 34 points for last week. He's not scored in 2 races so far, so every point from here on out will count, and he is quite a ways down in that Pro Championship order, down in P15 at the moment. But a good result here gets himself a little bit closer. I know he won't be going for the title, but it's the big results and the wins will go a lot for your confidence, particularly if you're having a bit of a struggle in the season.
Yeah, 1 DNF, 1 DNS for him, unfortunately, and so that has certainly pegged him back. But meanwhile, it's going to be Jason Park who brings us to the green flag here at Road Atlanta, and round 6 of the PRL GT3 Fixed Series gets underway. He just hold the field for a while there, Park, and look at the top 10 or so, really closely compacted in towards turn 1. It's side by side between the two Porsches for second, as Tyler Graff and Brett Furman go into battle. It's going to be Furman demoted to third, then it'll be David Bush, and then it's Ross Sortino rounding up the top 5 in a clean start for the leaders with the absence of Jay Steffi.
Yeah, you can just about see in the background everyone looking like they were making it through the opening couple of corners. We'll see if that holds as they're on their way to the end of the opening sector. Brett Thurman running it out a little bit wide, but keeping it, nice and safe compared to some of the drivers behind. You see them ducking and diving, weaving down in towards turn number 6 and 7. Contact, spin, and that's Delgado around. Delgado!
Huge moment. Ricardo Delgado was going for the lead, or going for the leader, I should say, of the AM class. That was Colin McKenzie in the Acura, who's going down to the back of the field. A huge moment in the AM class and the overall championship as well, as Delgado knew it was now or never to try and stay with the leaders through turn 6. He's made an ill-advised move down the inside, and he sent them both off the road.
It looked like he was going a little bit aggressive, really, to make that move on the inside, and in the end, that's how it's turned out. Not really the position to make the move. He was, looking left, looking right, in the end, going for that inside line. Colin McKenzie is going to be far from pleased. He's got a lot of work to do, and after a great qualifying for him in the AM class, when all he really had to do was hold position, it's all come undone again. Yeah, I mean, not even alongside into the braking zone.
Well,
it's difficult, that one.
Having said that, from that aerial shot, he was alongside for quite a while. That's going to be one to be discussed. I think, Colin McKenzie there certainly would have seen him coming. I guess I just thought, well, he's never going to actually do that, is he? It's lap 1. But in the end, he did do it. And Colin McKenzie there seemed to sort of turn in for the apex as if he wasn't there.
Yeah, it is fair from the aerial shot. Yeah, we probably have to see an onboard from Delgado, see how it was like in the cockpit, because he was definitely diving. It's aggressive either way, isn't it? To go for that move in that position. What's happened to Seb Gauthier down at the turn 10 chicane, and I mean he's avoiding action. That means that he won't hit the cars in front, but he will eat a little bit of dust through the gravel.
Very much avoiding action. Well done on avoiding. But unfortunately having to go through the grass and the gravel. So Delgado's out. Delgado's left. He's not happy, and he's left. He's going to finish as a DNF on the day, so he's going to score 4th place points. Effectively, right now, even though the two championship leaders are 40 positions apart, Furman's going to gain 2 points for it, which he'll be pretty furious about. But he knows the rules of the game after all, and so he will just do his job and try and finish on the podium for the 4th week in a row. But it's a good job. Delgado's got a big drop week to fall back on here, because this is going to be a big loss to him in the points.
We were talking about this just 10 minutes ago, weren't we? That if you have that big points drop in your back pocket, then even if you have a bad evening, as he's clearly had in the last couple of minutes, then you have something to fall back on. And even if it isn't perfect, it's going to go a long way to keeping you in the championship and keeping the championship looking a little rosy than it was. And meanwhile, championship leader Brett Thurman going for the move on Tyler Graf. That's it. He goes side by side at turn 6, and they're still going to be side by side as they make their way onto the straight.
Oh, Bush there was going for it on the inside line of Thurman, and he couldn't quite do it. Thurman's got a decent run here. This is all allowing Jason Park to have a bit of a walk in the park. 1.8 seconds out front right now as the two Porsches go side by side down the back straight. It's Graf versus Thurman again here. Graf making sure he holds onto the inside line in the purple. And Thurman on the outside, already ahead before the braking zone almost here. Oh, he cuts his nose off there. And Thurman, the championship leader, gets in front of Tyler Graf, and he looks a little bit quicker right now as well.
Yeah, effectively done, making sure that Tyler Graf doesn't really get the line out of the corner and really giving himself the best chance to hold it back down towards turn 1. They'll get ever closer as we see Ian Cabana get involved in some battles of the final corner. At turn 1, there is nothing that Tyler Graf can do on Brett Thurman. Great little tussle, actually, that happened one lap ago. Ian Cabana, though, getting shuffled back, and well, I mean, he's lost 4 positions there. He's going to be, well, he's not going to be terribly pleased about that, but good driving from the drivers around him to make those positions in difficult parts of the circuit.
Yeah, Dave Jensen getting through, Sean Stecker, Andrew Venaro. It's Cabana now outside the top 20, down 1 lap ago. I do have concerns, though, about Furman's strategy here. I get the fact he will have seen Graf ahead, losing time to Jason Park and thinking I could go and chase that gap myself if I could get into second. But, I mean, look at the gap it's created already. There's over 2 seconds between first and second now. This is one of the biggest gaps for the lead we've seen after just 5 minutes in the whole season.
Yeah, and Jason Park, I think, is going to be absolutely delighted. I mean, Thurman isn't catching himself, is he? So Jason Park able to gain away to anybody at the moment. Tyler Graf and David Bush looking for moves at the moment. Sortino's in this battle as well. Pedersen's a little bit off this train, but this group of 4 really is compact and could be a really key one to watch throughout the rest of the race. Not just in the overall championship, but in their own championship battles inside the top 10 at the moment. These could be important points.
Absolutely. Although they do bring the margin down that last lap. Park did a 8. Oh, they were actually matched. How's that possible? 1.7 second the gap's come down, but they matched on the last lap time. I don't really understand that, but anyway, that's what the timing screen's telling us. I won't argue with it. There are the positions gained. Now, take into account the fact that everybody got 1 from Jay Steffi, so that doesn't really count. Jay Steffi, by the way, is still down in 40th place. Hearing in the YouTube, oh, it's off in the background. That's Dale Pedersen. Pedersen off in the background there on the accurate. It was turn 5. We haven't talked about that corner yet, but it's so dangerous through there. If you get it wrong over the bumps, it looks like Pedersen has done, and he's going to drop right the way down the field now.
Yeah, it may have been a wide moment through the corner. We don't know if there's any contact. A little bit, well, it's a long way down from the apex of the corner to, it may not have been a mistake on his own, but we'll have to see it again. That's not where you need to be through that corner. It's an awful place to be stuck as well. Difficult to turn yourself back around. And will slip right to the back of the order. There's been a couple of drivers now who have gone from the front to the back, and he won't be any exception.
There's another look at it. Just a bit wide. He's tried to keep his foot in there through the grass. He actually saved it initially. He's tried to keep his foot in through the grass, and he's got it wrong. He smacked the wall quite hard there. And he hasn't had to go back to pit lane yet, but you can imagine there'll be pretty substantial damage on the front of that Acura now. And he's dropped a long, long way down the field. That is a real shame for him. And in the end, he got out in 41st position, a very, very long way down indeed. And Colin McKenzie, by the way, is only 36th. He's actually right with Drew Duessy at the moment in the battle for 34th place, heading currently by Ryan Chandler. Oh dear, it's been created by some of this. Regan Chandler losing his rear wing on the back straight here, and a right mess down the front straight.
sorts of out of shape through that final corner, and he is going to be, well, if nothing else, that rear is going to be looking a little bit worse for wear, and he's going to have to be struggling through maybe to a pit stop if he hasn't already, or if he isn't planning to soon come down pit lane. So, yeah, not good at all for Chandler, and somewhat a couple of the dangers of this circuit, particularly at the final corner on the exit. It's not a wide part of the racetrack, and he found the rule very, very quickly.
It is very easy to make contact through the final corner because everyone seems to want to take it flat out every time, and now, you know, that's possible in GT3s, even in GT3s, if you take the line right, but you can't quite do it if you're side by side. You've got to breathe off the throttle a little bit, and I'm afraid that McLaren there drove straight into the side of Chandler, who went around. He doesn't seem to have been too damaged by it, although now he is in pit lane, I should say. I didn't spot that initially. He is now down on pit lane and has been for a while. Steve Peterson, he qualified a long way out of position, and I can understand his urgency to try and get through, but he's got to do it without driving into the side of people.
Yeah, that's, well, I mean, you know, smart words of advice there from you and O'Leary. I don't think I can argue that, to be fair. That's probably, you know, if you're writing out the rules of racing, that's probably number one. It's the unwritten rule, but it's one that will count heavily. Well, I guess.
Oh dear!
I guess.
Oh no! Contact in Cabana there. Oh, and that's done a lot of suspension damage. It's veered off to the left quite dramatically. Now Sean Stecker was in the Porsche. And wait for this slam. There you go. Well, thankfully they actually crashed each other off the road, which prevented a further drama as a million other GT3s came up the hill there, but that was right in the midfield there. It's a problem when someone goes off so close in front of you around this circuit. There aren't often very many places to go.
For Capana there, that almost breaks the rule of don't drive into the side of the car. He didn't really have anywhere to go, did he? So I mean, he was stuck between a rock and a hard place, ended up in a barrier, which is probably worse. But yeah, that front left was not looking healthy, and he's going to be in the pit lane for, I'd say, quite a while. So it's not good. Not good news for Ian Cabana. Not many points on the board for him. Incoming, it seems. He may have to use a drop round if he has any points from a drop round, and I'm checking that now. In fact, he doesn't. So not looking good for Cabana. Not many points looking like they're going to be added to his tally tonight. Oh god.
There's just how many options he had, i.e. none, I'm afraid. It's a big bit of contact, I should say, through turn one. Still on second now, by the way. It's 40th place. He's soldiering on, but Ian Cabana came straight back to pit lane there, and is now down at the back. Regan Chandler as well is out of the race. That's 3 retirements to go alongside Delgado, Seb Gauthier, and Chandler as well has joined them. Now Stecker is into pit lane as well. I feel we may be up to 5 retirements pretty shortly. While we're on board with Tyler Graf here, I want to tell you a little bit about the AM Championship and what has happened here so far tonight. Colin McKenzie getting spun round on lap 1 at turn 6, and Pete Medger not here, both scoring very low points, and in fact both will be getting their drop weeks. So effectively McKenzie would gain 14 over Medger to add to his 13 that he's already got. Effectively his championship margin would be doubled, because the only 2 who are gaining points on him so far tonight are Nick Bruno in 8th and Jakob Fichtner in 10th place. Now in the championship currently, Nick Bruno is only 8th place. He's 56 points behind. That's a very long way indeed. And Jakob Fichtner is 22nd because he's only finished 3 rounds so far. So that just shows you it's not the worst day for Colin McKenzie at all, even though he is still running way down in, goodness me, where is he? He's still only 32nd.
But even so, I mean, with the drop points that he's got in his back pocket, again, he's in a fantastic position. Be able to just have a decent point haul tonight without having to do too much. And yeah, he may be losing a point or two to Bruno Fichtner, but realistically, it's not going to worry him a great deal. I think his concerns will be focusing on next week already, trying to get a good result at that race and making sure that he stays in the championship lead. Matthew Harms, that feels like some kind of technology fail to me, because I don't think there's ever been the racing line down at turn 1.
That certainly does look like a technological failure there, I'm afraid. Straight on in the McLaren. Oh, that's Sortino down the inside of David Bush into turn 1. That was coming from quite a long way back, and it looks like it didn't work. So they stay as they are. Meanwhile, battle for 6th place here between Andrew Trickett and Jared Keane over the top of the hill. Trickett's been able to make a decent amount of progress so far. 6th place for him as of right now. As we go back up to these guys further up front. Furman has been able to get himself clear from these guys, but Sortino getting a bit restless there. The best placed of the Ferraris, looking to get past David Bush there for 4th place. That might be a bit of a wake-up call to the driver of the Audi as well, to try and start making moves on Tyler Graf.
Yeah, Tyler Graf just trying to stick around there at the front, trying to keep in touch with Brett Thurman, because he has become a little bit disconnected from the front of this train. Still not getting on Jason Park, who's doing an absolutely stellar job in the opening half of this race up to this point. But David Bush starting to turn the screw a bit on Tyler Graf for a podium position. Sortino as well. But of course, pit stops are going to have to be considered in the next 10 minutes or so by these guys. You really can't afford to truck yourself into traffic though, and they'll know that, so they're going to hang it out for as long as they possibly can before they make a pit stop, and they've got to be careful when they do not to pick up a penalty, as we saw from Tyler Graf last week. They're moving to turn 1 this time though, and they will continue onwards, but a tightly compacted train, and for big points as well. It's going to be really interesting to see how this finishes.
Yeah, there haven't been any moves for a while now between these four, and Thurman indeed has got away from Graf. Feeling he's quite a lot quicker at this stage. These four so far pretty much matching each other. Walden meanwhile side by side with Nikos Zanadakis for 12th place. Look at all this going on here. Walden looks like he's made his way through. That's a very impressive place to make the move. He would have been forgiven for thinking it's pretty impossible at the start of the day, but he's made it work. Now then, Zanadakis could be in a bit of trouble. Louis Ortiz is right in behind him here in the Corvette. Then you've got Luke Davis further behind, then Andrew Venaro as well. Zanadakis started the lap 12th, and Walden's made a very impressive overtake over the top of the hill there at turn 2 and 3. Yeah, good to see from him, but continue this run up the order if possible. I mean, he'll be looking for it, of course, as I think Jared Keen's also got through an Andrew Trickett up towards the top 6, so there's good moves going on there. Is there anything going on in towards this turn 10 chicane? Robert Jeffries maybe looking to try and get himself involved. They'll run their way through the corner, but nothing going to happen here. Lovely livery, by the way, on that number 7 car. You know I'm partial to a bit of yellow and green. You look great. Well, that's more green and yellow, actually, but I'll take you.
Well, okay, but...
Meanwhile, Bush is actually a lot closer to Graf than Sortino is to, actually. Sortino's just been knocked back in the last couple of moments there in the Ferrari. Bush just trying to find his way through on Graf. This is a lot more like what I expected, actually, from tonight. 15 minutes gone now, and the early on, first 5 minutes, there was a lot of action, a lot of overtakes, quite lively. This is a much more settled situation and more like what you come to expect, actually, from this circuit, as I'm afraid we've got more drivers down pit lane. Neil Alexander is on pit lane to go alongside Storm Decker and Ian Cabana, who are still getting repairs that number over 5 minutes now.
Yeah, I mean, lots of repair. I mean, for a few of these drivers, they've had so much to do in the pit lane because of the contacts that we've seen. I mean, it hasn't really necessarily taken too much contact, but a little bit of suspension damage can really be a killer. And I think that's a good example of that. Drivers getting not necessarily caught out, but caught up in incidents, and their races being, ruined because of that. Still time for some people to recover if they've had a spin or two, but really if you get damage on a series like this, you could drop down 30, 40 positions, and that really is curtains on what you can really do effectively in the race.
Oh, Mark Sigelkow having trouble here through turn 5. You're not going to see very many solo incidents elsewhere other than there at turn 5. And unfortunately, the Porsche has come unstuck. It's just so tricky, that section of corners. That's a bit wide, actually, from Graf. There's certainly not a recommended line through there, but he's got the skills to make it work by the looks of things. He's certainly not crashed, which is more than can be said for some drivers who've ended up out there. As Zanadakis comes into pit lane, even got the time for a tyre or two there. Drops off the Jackson now, goes again. How many tyres would that have been then? 12 seconds for him, maybe 2. Maybe he could have fit in 2. We'll find out there. Quite surprised to see that, though. 35-minute race and a couple of tyres being taken.
You wouldn't associate Road Atlanta with being much of a tyre killer, particularly compared to some other circuits we may go to throughout, well, we have and will go to throughout the rest of the season. So interesting to see him take that decision. Maybe he thinks it'll benefit him, more. He'll gain more time through it than not. Tyler Graf coming into the pit lane earlier than the others around him again. It looks like he had a nicer line through the pit lane, though. Wasn't cutting any of the white lines, and unless he sped, this could be a much better stop for the 771.
I saw someone dropping down the field a few minutes ago. Not sure it was Duduesi, but he has gone for a spin over the top of the hill there at turn 3. Oh, this is always dangerous. Blind corner, reversing. Let's presume that he got out all right. So yeah, halfway through the race, pretty much exactly now, and into the pit lane comes Graf. I hope he didn't spin. He did clip the grass on the way in, I've got to say. It's quite along the grass there, but that's fine, on the inside line. And I can only presume that he got into pit lane without any problems as well. And he's out again in good time as well. The problem is going to be where he comes out here, and that is Colin McKenzie, I think, just going out ahead. It is indeed. So he's 21st. If those guys who are ahead of him don't pit soon, then he'll be in a bit of trouble here.
He may be, however, I mean, Colin McKenzie's not a bad driver to be stuck behind, considering that, yes, he's down in 20th position, but realistically, he has pace to be well inside the top 10. So, not a bad spot to be in. Nick Bruno is trying to find a way through on Andrew Trickett, trying to duck and dive, because all 4 of these guys nearly tripping over, trying to fight for the same piece of tarmac. You're looking at Jared Keane trying to defend. Well, actually, that's a lap car getting involved as well. Jared Keane's a little bit further up the road. No moves happen into the chicane, but Nick Bruno looking racy in the lead of that AND Plus for the time being. No pit stops for them just yet. For the likes of Sully Sad, he's diving into the pit lane. That will clear the track somewhat for the likes of Tyler Graf. Maybe just not the amount of cars that he would hope coming in the pit lane just yet.
Yeah, exactly. He's not quite stuck behind Colin McKenzie just yet, though, so he'll be all right. And it's you know, not even Colin McKenzie. Oh dear, someone's off in front of him here. I think that's a lap car again, just going off in front of Andrew Trickett and Jared Keane now. He's just a bit further up in front. That is a lap car as well in the Mustang, number 23. Just ahead of them here is Duduesi, who we just saw going for a spin. He's made his pit stop, and now he's out ahead of these guys, up over the bumps on the outside. Now he's going to get out of the way. That's also the problem. When you are down the field and you pit, you end up a lap down very quickly.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the blue flags are flying out, and you're made to feel like you need to give way to the cars behind you, and nicely done by Drew. In the end, Trickett not getting held up too much, but he was losing a little bit of time to Jared Keane, and that will be a time loss that will not satisfy him at all. Running towards turn 10 once again. Maybe we'll think about a pit stop this time round. We'll have to wait and see on that front. Tyler Graf now up to 18th, but he is stuck right behind a group of cars that is led by Ian Southern at the moment, so that's going to be a bit of a concern as David Bush comes in. A couple more drivers come into the pit lane as well. I think that was it Nick Bruno coming in? Yes, it was in the triple two. So a few more drivers coming down pit road this time. 50 minutes less than that now left in the race, so you'd imagine that more drivers than not will have made it down pit road by the end of this lap.
Jakob Fichtner has lost quite a lot of time. Did he make a mistake on the way into pit lane, or was he all right? We'll find out as on the bottom right of your screen, Bush gets up onto the axe briefly and then goes again. Now, where is Tyler Graf going to be? Don't know where he is on the circuit at the moment, but at the moment, and here we go. There it is, in the bottom right. There comes Graf. Here he goes on the left-hand side. It's going to be side by side between these two. The Audi on the inside line for turn 3. Oh, cold tyres, and he's just getting himself back up to speed again. Graf only just gets out ahead of him there. The lap traffic very nearly cost him.
Yeah, the confidence, though, to go around the outside there, really impressive. Of course, the tyres will be up to temperature somewhat. Of course, Tyler Graf won't have changed, David Bush would have changed all 4 tyres, but they would have cooled down somewhat by trundling down the pit lane, and you could just about see that difference as Tyler Graf was able to get himself up back into P9. Face of concentration, though. He's ahead of David Bush. The now concern will be, where does he come out in relation to the likes of Thurman and Sortino? We will wait and find out, because it's not even safe with David Bush right on his tail, maybe going for the move down at the chicane.
Well, is he going to push him for now and then fight later? Because they do have some people pitting in their racing, but no, he's going to battle for this. They could stare each other into the abyss here, and they might neither of them be on the podium if they're not careful. Into the final chicane. Bush is going for this. Graf's on the outside, giving him the inside for the second part, but he gives some room on the exit. Now McKenzie closes in. He'll be coming in pit lane. Don't worry about him, but these two still side by side could have cost each other a podium here. Oh, it's so close to disaster there. Graf had to snap the steering back straight again there as he made a bit of contact with the Audi. Here comes Ross Sortino. Oh, he's nearly cost them. They've nearly cost each other a podium there. Somehow they're still third and fourth.
Somehow this is still the battle for the podium position. I mean, Sortino will arrive on the scene and think, what is going on down here? But he'll be thrust right into it. Got to be careful because, getting involved there could be dangerous. But sitting back in this competitive tussle means that he may be able to make a move or two without really doing a great deal. Tyler Graf doing some fantastic defensive work through the final couple of corners, albeit sketchy towards the end of the lap. Looked like they were going to be going around, but just about holding on to the car. Lucky to do so. He's going to have to do it all over again because David Bush is so close yet again.
Yeah, this is becoming a real problem for Tyler Graf. 13 minutes to go. Is this a defendable distance? Can he hold on for what is going to be about another 10 laps here? As they make their way now down the hill, side by side. Outside line for Graf. It's like watching a replay, but Bush is a bit further alongside this time and he's through. A look of resignation on the face of Tyler Graf. David Bush has been quicker than him so far today, and that's the second driver now who has come up to the back of Tyler Graf, comprehensively overtaken and already gotten away from him.
Yeah, and maybe the podium is going away, just a touch ebbing from his grasp, but David Bush just needs to make hay with this advantage and try and pull away, because Tyler Graf, I'm sure, will want to be right where David Bush was last lap by sitting on the rear wing coming out of turn 7 and giving the driver in front a lot to think about down in towards the chicane. That is absolutely a possibility. That car that they will have to deal with as well as they make their way through turn 6. That's the 313 that is in their way. Of course, the 313 of
343 if they out. 343.
Thank you. Thank you. My timing page hasn't updated.
It's a bit battered on the front as well, which you can see. He's now a lap down. The first car a lap down. There's actually only 2 cars, 1 lap down. Sean Stecker and Ian Cabana did get out of the pit lane, but they're 6 and 7 down at the moment. So we've still only got 4 retirements in the race. Now then, Jakob Fichtner is not in second in the AM class anymore, as you may have noticed, and this is why. Oh, I don't think I've ever seen anybody get into that part of the racetrack before. He spun it up there as he was trying to brake in time for the pit lane line, and he's just effectively got on an access road. He nearly ended up back on the racetrack again.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse than it ended up being. Fichtner down pit lane. I think that'll be why he lost so much time, of course. And we were talking about coming through pit lane.
He also, by the way, I guess had some optionals because his pit stop was 22 seconds long. Meanwhile, that is a very Porsche crash, I've got to say. That car was wallowing all over the place there with the rear end. And there's Sean Stecker getting it slightly wrong in a different Porsche. That's at the top of the hill there at turn 3. But yeah, Fichtner, just to complete that point, 22 seconds in the box. Suggests he had some optionals as well. Maybe to repairs, maybe some required, I don't know. But that's part of the story. The other part is that his pit stop was double as long.
Yeah, it's not really the ideal length of a pit stop. It's not really the ideal pit stop sequence. You know, races can be won and lost, and we've seen that in the pit lane phase. It really adds a different dynamic to the race when you're mandated to have a pit stop, even within that 35-minute or this 35-minute race that we have. And we're seeing it, in black and white there, that it is very much a key part. And so much can go right, so much can go wrong. Not a part of the race that drivers will practice really at all. But it's so crucial, even for the tenths and the seconds that they can gain or lose.
Now then, somebody else is dropping down the field here on the tower. Waldo Walden is in pit lane, but has been for a few laps now. It was Robert Jeffries. He was running in 18th, but you can see from the position board, he's just spun to the inside, and what a costly place to do it as well. Look how many cars were right behind him. He's I'm not sure quite what he's doing here. Reverses the right way down the circuit and then goes the wrong way. Scott Jeffries over the top of the hill, spinning the Porsche as well. We're starting to see some of those mistakes creep in now as we approach half an hour gone in this race.
Yeah, still a decent way to go though. A fair few laps left to run, a fair few chances down at turn 10 to make a move or two. 8.5 minutes on that clock. Difficult to see where the moves are going to come inside the top 5 at the moment. Gaps are opening up a touch, but you look down to the likes of Nick Bruno, Sully Sad maybe going into a bit of a battle. Jarrah Keane and Andrew Trickett as well for P6 and 7. There's definitely still a lot is on the table, and a few drivers still trying to make their way through the field who have had issues from the start of the race, just trying to recover anything that they can. The likes of our championship leader in the AM class, Colin McKenzie, trying to make his way through the field, is one of those drivers. He's up to P23, I think that was, and he'll be seeing how if he can get inside the top 20 by the end.
Tyler Grath back in third, as David Bush, the third, has dropped down to fifth position behind Ross Sortino as well here. So he is probably third quickest driver on the circuit, but he's lost a couple of places in these last couple of moments. Oh, he's wide again there through turn 5. And that's not going to help him as he tries to get back past this Ferrari, but he's not got very long to respond now. I think dreams of a podium are probably going to go away from him here, but he needs to at least get back past Ross Sortino and back to where he was earlier in fourth position here, because he'd be disappointed to have been in a podium place at one stage and lose out. Now he's lost out on the way towards turn 7, or out of turn 7 I should say, and he's never going to make any move from all the way back there.
No, it's opportunistic, but you know, there's always a limit to what you can really do, and that is an example of that. We get towards the closing stages in this race. So many drivers, I think, will be looking for that extra position or two, maybe just trying to apply some pressure towards the end of the race, but going to be doing it soon, doing it effectively as well, because with only 6 minutes 40 to go, you've not got a lot of time to make too many little mistakes in a battle.
Oh, a bit wide. Oh, it looked wrong from the very beginning there. The Audi looked all out of shape. He's off now through turn 1. That might be that as far as the battles in the top 5 go, with just over 6 minutes to go. This is the peril of Road Atlanta. It's an old school circuit. There's no tarmac runoff on the outside, just grass to collect to. And I'm afraid David Bush has been collected. He's now confirmed, I would say, in 5th place in this race.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to get back to Ross Sortino unless Ross Sortino has quite a big error. He's far enough away from Jarrah Keane. If he keeps it on the tarmac, he feels safe from there. But yeah, it's going to be tricky to gain any position from here. Jakob Fichtner. Oh, wow. Oh, dear. Oh, just getting it all wrong through turn 10 and just collecting a couple of cars. Really a miracle that more weren't involved, considering that there were 4 all into the corner. See it again. Yeah, getting onto the grass. Oh, flicking around Neil Alexander. And he gets popped, quite frankly. I
wonder whether that would have done some suspension damage, because Neil Alexander's in pit lane now in the Ferrari. Oh, that has done a lot of suspension damage. That's exactly the sort of corner on the car that you do not want to be hit. That will do a lot of damage there. In relation, if you're looking for risk, for returns on your contacts, that's exactly the place to do it. As far as damage is concerned, you'll do a lot of damage by hitting that corner of the car there, and I'm afraid Neil Alexander knows all about that now, as he makes his way back to pit lane, and he'll be in there for quite some time. Looks like Waldo Warden's out the race, so it's another one of the Ferraris who has retired in maybe a position or so, and it will be for Sean Stecker and Ian Cabana, who are running around 7 laps down, just racing for points now, a bit further down in the field, so they'll be mildly pleased about that as they continue to work their way around. 4.5 minutes still to go. As we have a look at Jay Steffi, haven't seen much of him, but his run through the field, and that is not his best overtake. Aaron Sunday there, carted into the outside wall.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit too greedy to the inside line. There wasn't really much of an overlap there, and Aaron Sunday getting punted into the wall. Lucky to get it out of there pretty quickly, but I'm not sure he's going to be overly joyed. You got to feel for Jay Steffi from the start of the race. Obviously qualifying a pole position, not able to start there and having to work his way through the field anywhere he can. He's up to P27. He's back at it. Actually just made the move on Aaron Sunday again. P27, it's just not where he'd want to be by the end of this race, you know, he'll hold his hands up to that, but you know, when you're given the position that he was at the start of the race, there's not a great deal you can do, and he's trying to do everything he can, but just trying to overdrive the car sadly into turn 1, and that's where the contacts come from.
I mean, I wonder how Jay Steffi will look back at this race, because a pole position is a fantastic achievement for him to have got, but you know, he's going to finish in the low 20s in this race, and I don't know whether to believe this or not, but Tyler Pastor in YouTube chat saying that he was too scared to lead the field, and so he decided to start from pit lane at the back. I don't really know if I believe that or not, but we'll say it is the case for now, for the sake of argument. I don't know if Steffi would be disappointed he didn't take this race on from the front and just give it a go, because after all, from the back of the field, he's gained, he has gained 17 places, and that's okay, but, he's qualified on pole. He could have easily had a top 5 result here, surely.
Oh, absolutely. Jared Keane is going to go through on David Bush. Oh, and I said David Bush looked safe for P5 because he was far enough ahead of Jared Keane. Maybe he wasn't. Keane is now through. Trickett will maybe be the next one to shuffle Bush backwards. No, but you're absolutely right. And I think it's a good point to make, especially at this stage of the race. Well, we're seeing that kind of theme run through. We're also seeing moments this Joni's field. Ooh. Connection, if I've seen one.
Is he back now? He is back now, from what I can see. Or is that not true? Yeah, he's running 15th as far as I can see at the moment. Meanwhile, he's letting Joe Peguero through into 15th. So there he is on the front straight, letting people through. Looks like he's back again all of a sudden. That's very weird. Yeah, I think you were. I did agree with you, by the way. David Bush would hang on to the top 5, but I'm afraid this race has really unravelled for him late on now. As there is Jones Field. Looks like he's fine now. It's a bit weird, but anyway, he's down to 16th. Yeah, Andrew Trickett right behind David Bush now, and all of a sudden 6th place is looking under threat. It's really unravelling for the Audi now.
Yeah, it's just going from bad to worse for David Bush. He's now lost that to Trickett. Sully Sad's not a million miles away either. They will have, 2 more laps? I think maybe even a third, depending on when we can get to the line here. But he'll be hoping it's as short as possible because he is shipping time hand over fist. But hey, he'll still be getting a good result for the time being, and P7 would be awful. That's by no means guaranteed because Sully Sad's within the second now.
Yeah, it is starting to go wrong for David Bush, unfortunately. In fact, he's got no friends in the Audi out there, saying that is the reason, but it's probably not helping in the week. Doesn't really have anyone to bounce off who's in this series as well. Bounce ideas off as far as the Audi is concerned. It looks like he is paying for his efforts a bit now earlier in the race. He was in contention for that podium place earlier on. I'm afraid that is suddenly seeming like a very long time ago indeed. As with 30 seconds to go, Jason Park is making his way into the final corners. This will not be the last lap. This will be the white flag shown to him this time round, and a word on his dominant performance here this evening. We haven't seen very much of him. That's exactly what he would have hoped for. His gap has not been below 2 seconds since the very beginning of this race.
Yeah, he's got a car that's, the livery looks a bit like a beach, and he has basically been on holiday at the front of the field because he hasn't really had too much to worry about. Just kept it nice and consistent, kept it on the tarmac, and the pace being high. Brett Thurman hasn't had a chance to try and catch up to him. That gap has stayed very, very stagnant throughout the last 30 minutes with Brett Thurman sitting in P2. So impressive to see him stay there. David Bush still going backwards. There must be some form of damage on the car, surely, because he's just being pushed all the way down the order, down to P9. Awful end to the race for the number 32 driver.
Yeah, I agree. There must be something going wrong there because that is far too slow by his standards. There's the battle for 7. Oh dear, and somebody trying to get out of the way there in one of the Porsches, just off the road down there. Either way, the white flag is now waving. The time has elapsed, and this race is going to come to a conclusion in a few moments' time. We'll check in on this battle for 7th place a bit later because that could go on into this chicane here. But further up in front, Jason Park is making his way through the final chicane now. 4th in the championship coming into today, coming off the back of 3 podiums in a row. Well, this is going to be the 3rd, I should say, here at Road Atlanta. Checker flag waves. Jason Park is a winner for the 2nd time this season in the PRL GT3 Fixed Series. And here comes Nick Bruno looking down the inside of Bush. He couldn't quite do it. Neither could Ellis on Sully Sad for 7th place. But Nick Bruno is going to come through the final corners now. 10th place overall. He is going to win the AM class. Oh, and Sully Sad misses out on the podium. I wonder whether he ran out of fuel there. Excuse me, not a podium. He misses out on 7th place. Andrew Ellis overtakes him right to the line. But Nick Bruno, meanwhile, just behind, comes over the line in 10th place and takes the AM class as well.
Yeah, great result for Nick Bruno. Yes, he wasn't necessarily the fastest tonight. Colin McKenzie got the pole position in the AM class, but Nick Bruno wasn't caught up in an instant and was able to lead from the front after that point. And a great result for the 222. He's going to be delighted, I'm sure. But yeah, great result as well. Quite a few drivers at the front of the field are going to be delighted. Good results for them towards the back end of the season, and exactly what they needed before the final stretch of 3 races.
Absolutely, it is. It's a good way to set yourself up for the end of the season, which we're very much in the home straight of now. Jason Park takes the win for Acura here in Road Atlanta, as he wins by 3.1 seconds ahead of Brett Furman, who extends his championship lead by 4 points here today. Tyler Graff is joining them on the podium, with Ross Sortino and Jared Keane rounding out the top 5. It's Andrew Trickett in 6th place ahead of Andrew Ellis, with Sully Sad just behind. David Bush just prevented Nick Bruno, the AM winner, from overtaking him on the last lap. Louis Ortiz finishes in 11th ahead of Nikos Sanadakis, with Luke Davis in 2nd place in the AM class. Then Andrew Bonaro and Joel Piguero running up the top 15 overall. Evander Jonesefeld managed to fend off his internet problems with the 16th place finish, and a Colin McKenzie who made a very, very good recovery there, even though he will still be taking his drop week here today. Dave Peterson, David Morse and Ian Southern round out the top 20. In 21st, it's Thomas Repp in the first of the Mustangs, followed by Kevin Perkvist, with Sean Duhamel, Jakob Fichtner, who had that crash on the way into pit lane, and Dale Pedersen rounding out the top 25. Just over a minute back was Sam Smeltzer, alongside Jay Steffi, the pole sitter, and Robert Jeffries and Drew Duesse. Then Mark Bray, the first of those drivers, a lap down in 30th place. 31st was Scott Jeffries, and also a lap down with Aaron Sunday, Mark Sigalo, Dave Jensen and Sean Murphy. 5 laps down for Neil Alexander, who retired quite late on. Sean Stecker and Inca Banner did come out to finish in the end. Warder Warden did not, neither did Ryan Chandler, who ran at top 40. Neither did Seb Guffier, Ricardo Delgado, Sean Mulholland, or indeed Matthew Harms, who finished in 41st. Let's have a chat to Jason Park, who's taken the race win here at Road Atlanta tonight. Congratulations, Jason, on the race victory. 3 seconds at the line, over 2 seconds throughout the entirety of the race. Was that as comfortable as it looked for you out front?
I mean, I actually got a bad start, and I was just enough ahead, I think, to take the inside line. And I think luckily for me, Tyler made a mistake on lap 3, I believe, and that kind of gave me a little bit of a cushion there, and definitely calmed the nerves a little bit after that.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a 2 or 3 second gap the entire way home, and this is now your 3rd podium in a row. You're stringing together some quite good results now. What are your thoughts on the rest of this championship season and what you can achieve?
I mean, I think I've kind of found my groove here, so I hope I can keep this consistency up with these podiums. But my first 2 races of the season were poor, so hopefully I can kind of stay in the hunt. I'm not sure how that's going to look moving forward, but I just got to keep grinding out.
All right, well, look forward to seeing it. Jason, congratulations on the win, and thanks for chatting to us.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much, Jason Park, the winner of tonight's race overall. Ahead of Brett Furman, who won last week and is 2nd this week. Brett, welcome in. Good to have you with us again. A championship leader. Championship lead extended by a further 4 points over Delgado. How do you feel the evening went?
Boy, that's the best news all night. I wasn't up to the task tonight, and Jason was. So once Tyler and I got in a little scuffle, Jason was gone.
Yeah, what was it about Road Atlanta that you didn't quite click with as well as you were clicking with Zandvoort 1 week ago?
You know, I was really happy with this track all week, and just tonight wasn't my night. Just a little stiff tonight, and just wasn't my day. But hats off to Jason and Tyler.
That's the way it goes sometimes. Congratulations on 2nd place and a fattened championship lead slightly, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, see you guys. Look forward to seeing you.
Thanks very much. Brett Furman there in 1st place in the championship, 2nd place in tonight's race. Tyler Graff finished 3rd. On the podium again. Welcome in, Tyler. Good to have you with us. On the podium this time round here at Road Atlanta. You were passed by David Bush at one stage, but you got back ahead of him and held on to the end. Do you feel like you got this, avenging last week a little bit? You fully deserve this podium after the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, a little bit. I didn't think I had anything for tonight. Like halfway through practice, it did not seem like the Porsches were really going to be there, and I don't know if the track came to us or what, but it kind of seemed like everyone else slowed down a little bit to like the 0.3s that all the Porsches were running. But yeah, it was great. I had a blast racing David there. We tried to fit 2 cars into a spot where 2 cars don't go, and I don't know how we got through it, but that was some fantastic driving on his part for us to make it through there. So I don't know, that was fun. That's what's fun about these cars, though. It's like levels out go-kart racing, and I love it.
It was good to watch as well, and you managed to come home with the 3rd place. What do you think the Porsche could achieve for the final rounds of this season? We've got Donington, Bathurst, and Hockenheim still to go. Are you looking at any of those for another big result?
I seem to do well at tracks that I don't know at all, like the week I learned them for some reason. So I'm hoping Donington goes well. I've not done a single lap there ever, so I guess we'll see. But for the rest of them, I think I've done quite a bit of time in the Porsche there, so it's just kind of I don't know, figuring out where all these other hooligans are fast to try to get faster.
Yeah, I guess a lack of expectation can help sometimes. I don't know. Well, congratulations on finishing 3rd tonight, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tyler Graff there in 3rd place here tonight. Now, 10th place overall was the AM winner, Nick Bruno, who can now join us as well. Welcome in, Nick. Good to have you with us here tonight. And an AM victory for yourself for the first time this season. How do you feel having been able to achieve that tonight?
Yeah, just really happy to have a quiet, uneventful, for the most part, race after a few races of head luck and incidents and that kind of thing. So just happy to finish a bit under the radar, and it happened to be P1 in AM, so that's really cool.
Absolutely, you were a bit under the radar in the race, but you've had a couple of 0-point finishes this season already. Just how does it feel to sort of bounce back from that now with 3 rounds to go, knowing that you can push on and maybe go and win again this season? How does it feel to have sort of broken that now and got a race win?
Yeah, I think the low point was last week when I chose the Mustang when I've been driving the Porsche all season. So I think you can only go up from there. And today, I don't know, I didn't really see what happened, but Colin, who's I think maybe at this point close to uncatchable, had some bad luck. So I kind of saw that as an opportunity to capitalize, and hopefully, we can maybe wrap up second. It's pretty hard to catch Colin, but 2nd place in AM would be really good.
All right, well, we look forward to seeing it. That does explain your disqualification, by the way, on the result sheet, of course, and getting in the wrong car, but there you go. These things happen. I've seen worse.
Yep.
Congratulations on getting the win in the AM class here tonight, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Nick Bruno there, the winner here at Road Atlanta in the AM class. Well, that's it for the PRL GT3 Fixed Series for another week, but make sure you stay with us because another 40 minutes of racing coming up very shortly. The PRL GT3 Sprint Series ready for round 6 coming up next. The home stretch of the PRL GT3 Sprint Series, much like we've got in the Fixed Series. Just 4 rounds to go here, starting here at Road Atlanta with half of the rounds remaining, including a chance of rain, at least to some degree. Not tonight though, no rain not a cloud in the sky, in fact, here at Road Atlanta. It is though a very, very exciting time to be joining this series. If you've not seen it before, it's the same as the last race effectively, but 5 minutes longer. The drivers have the opportunity to change the setups around as well. very interesting season so far. Has given us 3 different winners in 5 races, and remarkably, the championship leader is only there because of those 3 race wins for Elliot Budzinski in the last 3 weeks. He is no points ahead of Guillaume Levesque, but he is ahead on countback, followed by Kevin Denouer, who is only 1 point further behind. 10 back is Juan Limos, 11 back for Christian Sternberg, 18 back only for Simon Terrio, Chris Beats as well, and Nick Nudeke all covered by just 25 points. Then you've got Aidan Young and Uthman Aloui, who are both 33 back. It is an unbelievably close Pro Championship standings. In the AM Championship, it's a little bit further apart, but Kevin Kiernitz is leading by 12 points ahead of Devon Brock, with Blake Ziti in 3rd ahead of Marshall Skirt, with Gavin Amman and Jermaine Warren all involved in the fight, as well as Mark Elliott, Dino Vella, their outside chances as well. Justin Welsh and Jacob Blankenship are at the bottom, having not been at very many of the races at all so far this season. In the team standings, Wilderness Racing have started to pull ahead in recent weeks ahead of SimCity Racing, with Team PDZ rounding out the top 3. Apex Racing Team Advanced Motorsports are in 4th ahead of Vimmer Racing Team Mexico GP. SCR3 is in 6th ahead of Solpit Precision Racing Gold, with SimCity Racing 2 in 8th. SFC Vimmer Racing team are at the bottom there, 10th position for them. So Wilderness Racing, as I say, very much starting to pull away a little bit in the teams championship standings. Well, we are just in the final minute of qualifying now, and Kevin Simpson is looking like he's going to take the pole position. Simpson is not even in the top 10 in the championship, and he would be a new pole sitter as well. It just shows you how crazy the pro standings and indeed the sprint series has been so far this season. A whopping 8 drivers separated by less than 25 points after 5 rounds, with a drop round, and still no sign as to who's really going to take this by the scruff of the neck.
And with the top 11 in this qualifying session by less than 0.2 of a second, I mean, it's absolutely incredible to really see how close they are. Charité going up into P9 for the time being as well. I mean, a few names up in the front. Aidan Young hasn't qualified particularly well on the GT3s so far this season, has raced well, but hasn't necessarily qualified well. That's looking like it's changing today. Simon Sykes, another name that we haven't really seen towards the front very much so far this season. And to have Kevin Denouer down in P14 in the number 5, that's going to be disappointing for him. 1 point off the championship lead, but a long way off of his rivals. Levesque in 3rd, Budzinski in 7th. They're scattered around, but they're all involved in the battles.
Yeah, Budzinski's won the last 3 weeks in a row, and I thought, you know, that's exactly the kind of point in the season again where you can grab some momentum and maybe take it home. But at the moment, Budzinski's down in 7th place. Not a great place to be starting. Alberto Diaz looks like he's done for the day. 4th position. Is anybody out there at the moment trying to improve times? If anything, it's Simpson who might well improve here. Budzinski as well, who are both still out there. Just keep your eye on this here in the qualifying session. It may not be done just yet. It's Acura's up inside the top 7, by the way. There are 6 of them in the top 7. Budzinski is the 7th of them. But can he take pole right at the end here? It doesn't look like it quite. Simpson, in fact, goes a tiny bit quicker. In fact, well, according to that graphic he did, I'm not sure I'm seeing the same on my timing screen. But anyway, Antoine Lasserie does go quicker. That is 6th place for him to give one of the Audis a chance up there. But 6 Acuras in the top 8 there.
Willow and Juan Lemieux inside the top 10, but also spinning around. Everyone's spinning around. Having a lovely time. They're having a bit of fun. End of the session. Give me slightly a bit of a heart attack, but there we go. The top 5, less than 1/10 of a second in it. And I mean, we're talking about, what, 2 car lengths for that? Absolutely incredible. But really interesting to see Aidan Young on that front row. Is P11, tied for P11 in the all-time winners list in the PRL for any race ever. For any series ever. And all of those wins have come in a GT4. So looking for his first GT3 win tonight.
Certainly is. As we get ready for the next race of the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. Just to clean up some stats from the last race, by the way. Jason Park taking his second ever win in the PRL. He has managed it before. I think it's been a little while since in the GT3s we've had a first-time PRL winner. Had a few weeks since we've seen that. Certainly in the Sprint Series, Elliot Budzinski has been dominant so far. Guillaume Levesque, of course, has won before this season as well. The week before that at Daytona, as we all know. The results sheet will always display 0.000 at the end of that race, even though I can't remember what decimal place it came down to in the end. There was a decimal place separating it, but it was not in the thousands, that's for sure. A very, very close race indeed. I'd be surprised if we see that again here today. Let's have a look at another lap on board then, shall we, here at Road Atlanta, as we get ready for the race. The warm-up session is currently underway, and this is on board, I think, with Kevin Simpson. It is indeed with the pole lap here. Notable again, I think, Darrett, the fact it's an Acura. Sometimes we see a bit of a difference between fixed and Sprint Series car manufacturer behaviour, but it seems that whether you tinker with this setup or not, the Acura is a strong car around Road Atlanta.
Yeah, and let's see how Kevin Simpson can do. I mean, you can see how pinned it is through that opening sector, clearly setting up the car beautifully to aid it over the bumps and give himself the best chance. Compare and contrast this to Jay Steffi's lap time in the earlier session, and there's not really a car anywhere near Kevin Simpson running through turn 6 and turn 7. He's got a beautifully clear track in front of him to be able to drive into, and doing very nicely through the middle part of the lap as well. Again, this doesn't look overly fast, but in such a competitive grid, every single hundredth and thousandth matters, and keeping these lines tight down the main straight or down the back straight towards turn 10, even though that looks like it's a straight line and you don't really have to think too much about it, that line could have been the difference in pole and second place.
I think one of the things that really does help the Acura here is the stability over the bump through turn 5. The way we watched that through there was fantastic. Oh, there, and this is, well, that's not quite the pole lap, but it is a lap with Kevin Simpson. Unfortunately, we always have this problem in the Sprint Series, is that we're not always in the session when the pole lap's set, so we can't go back in time and try and find the lap. So there you go. You've got an idea. I'm sure he did something pretty similar on his pole lap. Anyway, he probably didn't go straight on, though, at the final corner. That would be a new one. But never mind. Anyway, let's have a look at the grid ready for this race. As we know, Kevin Simpson will be on the pole position. Another new pole sitter in this season. Still haven't got anybody above 2 poles so far. Kevin Denier and Simon Theriault will have to wait another week to try and go above and beyond that. Yeah, we will bring up the grid when we have it. There's Simon Sykes from Georgia, it says there. So he may have the home field advantage, maybe. We are in Georgia, by the way. For those that need an American geography lesson, I would say I'm one of them. But there you go. At least I know where this circuit is. It is an all Acura front row. As I mentioned, 7 of the top 10, in fact, are Acuras, with the WSRA Sports Bookkeeper car of Aidan Young alongside. It is Guillaume Levesque and Ubolo Diaz on row 2, with Nick Ledecky, the last driver, within a 10th of pole ahead of Antoine Lasserit in the Audi. Acura, Corvette, Audi in the top 6. Then is an all-field and racing 4th row with Simon Sykes and Elliot Podzinski, Christian Steenberg and Juan Limus rounding out the top 10. Then Simon Theriault 11th place with an all-Porsche row 6 alongside Chris Beats. Not necessarily the car to have, as we were talking with Charlie Graf just beforehand. Corbin Lenaway and Kevin Denier are on row 7, ahead of Uthman Alawi and Ethan Bass in row 8. Emmett Lindqvist and David Mendonca are on row 9. Ryan Puchtel and Matthew Bisciglia are running out at the top 20 with Nicholas Mazza and Steve Baker next. Then Blake Ziti on the pole for the AMS ahead of Austin Cobb in 24th. Miguel Angel Fonseca is 25th ahead of Matt Stadnick with William Fenson and Jason Allen on row 14. Alex Carver and Noah Anderson round out the top 30. 31st goes to Kevin Kienitz with Chris Stewart alongside Alex de Almeida and Joshua Spears on row 17 ahead of Devon Brock and Dino Vella. And then just 2 more rows to bring you to the end of the grid. Marshall Scare, Mark Elliott, Jermaine Warren and Gavin Ammerman, who didn't set a time there of the 4C drivers in the session. Just about half a minute to go then in warm-up. I've got to say, from looking at that top 10 there, a very specific way of what a GT3 car should look like round here. Acura, Corvette, McLaren, all 3 have very similar characteristics, I would say, at least in the way they look. Pretty low to the ground as far as, you have to duck to get in. Obviously, they're all low to the ground, but you get what I mean. Very sleek design and pretty wide as well. I wonder whether that sort of wider, more stable platform rather than the more top-heavy Porsche. It might just be helping to lower its centre of gravity and keep it a bit more stable over these bumps or keep it going faster at some point on the circuit, but clearly there's a common characteristic there that you can easily spot without looking too hard inside the top 10.
And I wonder how similar some of these setups are from some of the drivers in the way that they're going for this race. Are they really going for the same tweaks? Are they going for something slightly different? Is it more based on what the drivers are doing or more based on the car? I'd be interested to know that. But the Acura clearly is working well, and it will be interesting to see how it can run in the race. I can't imagine the gaps at the front of the field are going to open up very much. If the qualifying pace is pretty much, the top 7 or 8 within the blink of an eye in terms of a lap time, so it's going to be a really exciting one, that's for sure. You got to be careful about where to look. Pit stops are going to be crucial as well. This should be a good 40 minutes worth of racing.
It's just 78 degrees Fahrenheit on the circuit, a little bit cooler than in the the Fixed Series, and they were taking some tyres during that race, so maybe that will be a factor again here as we race on the 1st of March, a little bit ahead of time by a couple of weeks or so. As the drivers now get themselves onto the grid, hopefully Kevin Simpson, the pole sitter, will actually take the start from the front here. Get why Jay Steffi didn't want to, but could have had a lot of a better result if he did. Anyway, he now gets himself onto the grid, as does everybody else. Aidan Young was actually one of the last to get himself there. Now he's ready to go. Looks like Gavin Ammerman down at the back didn't set a time in qualifying, and so he's not going to race either by the looks of things, which is a shame for him. But the rest of the 39 drivers are going to make their way off of the start line and in towards turn number 1. Effectively here, Elliot Brzezinski, Guillaume Levesque and Kevin Denier effectively have a chance to take the championship lead tonight by finishing ahead of the other two, and it's such a remarkable championship situation that we've got between the 3 of them, just 1 point separating them all. And then you start to consider where they've qualified. Levesque is 3rd place, that's all right, but Brzezinski's down in 8th, considering he's on a 3 on the bounce win streak, and Denier is down in 14th place. It's a really quite mixed up field, so open this championship.
And with drivers that are trying to chase as well, just kind of getting themselves involved in the mix too, it really is a bit higgledy-piggledy, but that's kind of what we like to see. It's not quite the 13-point gaps that we had a little while ago in the Fixed Series. It is close, it is tight. I mean, even Lemieux down in 4th in the championship starts 10th. Steenberg 5th starts 9th. Terrio 6th starts 11th. A lot of them are a little bit further down the order. Aidan Young's just inside the top 10 in the championship, finds himself on the front row. Kevin Simpson is 11th in the championship, finds himself on pole. I mean, it almost swapped around. The top 12 are almost still the top 12. The top 12 in the championship, I should say, still the top 12 on the grid. It's just almost reverse order. Really interesting to see, and could provide us with a really exciting race in maybe a somewhat reverse grid feel, even though it's qualifying results that, of course, have set the grid for the race.
I mean, we could go on. Lacherit's qualified 6th. He's 40th in the standings. Simon Sykes is qualified just behind him in 7th. He hasn't done a race yet. It's a remarkable qualifying session. It really is. We're in for quite a race here. Very good evening to everyone who is joining us, watching along here on RaceSpotTV tonight. Hunter supporting the Field and Edge racing team. They've locked out row 3. Nick Ludecki on the inside of that one in 5th place. He's currently down in 8th place in the standings, but less than 25 behind. That's absolutely reachable in the space of 4 races. I think ideally you want to be within 25 points or so. If you're a bit further behind by this stage, further than that, then you're probably out of things. But 8 drivers separated by less than 25 points heading into this round of the championship. It is a remarkable season in the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. Who's going to win it? We're going to be no closer to finding that out by the end of tonight, but we might well get just that little bit closer with a good race here at Road Atlanta. The green flag waves a little bit earlier this time, and Kevin Simpson takes advantage of it as Aidan Young fends off Guillaume Levesque there. Oh, and look at this. Some of the accuracy here trying to get past Levesque. He goes down the inside here in the Corvette in towards turn number 1. Side by side up the hill they go. Alberto Diaz is looking for his way through. Side by side, and my goodness, Young pulls in front of Levesque only just and holds on to 2nd place.
Yeah, great move. There was a little bit of rubbing of wheels, really, across the start-finish line between Aidan Young and Guillaume Levesque. Both drivers could have been off the road, as we see a bit of a wide moment from the race leader. Another wide moment just in behind. That's the P6 driver of Antoine Lacharité trying to struggle his way through. Be careful, because around the outside is coming Sykes, if he can try and find a way through. And then Elliot Brzezinski is looking up the inside. 2 teammates going side by side, and the exit of turn 7, they're just about going to sort it out. But what a start.
Fantastic start, fantastic racing early on. Simpson, Young, Levesque, Diaz, Ludecky, the top 5. Side by side a bit further behind here, as it looks like Christian Sternberg is trying to get past Elliot Brzezinski here. He's going to struggle with that because he's got no slipstream. He's going to get slipstream from his teammates here, Brzezinski, but it's not worked. The McLaren's on the outside of this contact. Brzezinski just leaning on Sternberg on the outside line there, and Sternberg's through in the 77 car. That's the championship leader moving backwards here, and here comes Juan Lemus as well on the inside line. This is going from bad to worse now for the... Oh, he's off! It's a huge accident in the final corner! Oh my goodness me! Juan Lemus has gone flying through the air, and there's still a big crash going on the front straight here. There's so many involved. Oh, there's so many cars involved. Juan Lemus has gone flying through the air, at least 30 feet above the ground. Elliot Brzezinski, the championship leader's in the wall in a big way. Kevin Kiernitz has had to go back to pit lane. Alex Almeida, Devin Brock, they're all in the lane. Oh, it's a huge accident on the front straight.
I'd say that's at least 50 feet in the air. That's an absolutely monumental collision into the wall. Drivers getting involved, Dino Vea alongside Brzezinski and Juan Lemus, Kevin Kiernitz, Alex Almeida, Devin Brock, all getting involved in that collision at the opening couple of corners. And now there is a marked gap between, well, really, Corbin Lenaway at 11th and Ryan Puchtel in 13th. That's a 4-second gap only, punctuated by Matthew Biseglia at the moment. So huge margin, but a massive crash. I think we're going to have to see it again at some point. Yeah.
That may be. Oh my goodness me! That may be the biggest crash I've ever seen, and I'm not exaggerating. That might be the biggest crash I've ever seen. I hope we don't have an onboard with Juan Lemus, to be honest with you. That might be sickening. No. Oh, off! Simpson off at turn 1, and Aidan Young suddenly gifted the lead here ahead of Levesque. Oh, Kevin Simpson qualified on pole. He did well in the circumstances to hold on to his first position, but suddenly, in one mistake, he's outside the top 10.
Yeah, all on his own really into turn 1. You could just about see it midway through the corner. The rear end starts to slide, and we've seen it more than a couple of times. There goes the car. Juan Lemus. Whoa. That is quite some hit, well, lucky Barney standing on the end of the flag tower there. He would have been hit otherwise.
But someone else was spun on the front straight as well there, right in front of everybody else. And how everybody avoided, I've got no idea. There were so many, and there still are so many. There's 9 down pit lane now at the end of lap 1. This is what oh my goodness. Oh goodness me, this is. Oh my word. That is one of the worst crashes I've ever seen. That is absolutely remarkable.
I think it's fair to say we wouldn't, if that actually happened, we wouldn't be showing it, and I think Juan would be in. There would be a red flag and all kinds of medical attention. But when you're in the sim and you can get a view like that, it looks kind of cool, doesn't it? Really, when you can't really see what's going on, you know that you're crashing somewhere, but you can't even tell that you're 30 feet up in the air. But I guess that is the most silver of silver linings for Juan, because he's right the way down the field. He won't be scoring very many points at all from this race, and he's going to have to take a drop round, of which he doesn't have any points because he wasn't here last week. So it's going to basically be taking out a complete championship contention, which is absolutely gutting. But for Brzezinski as well, he's going to have to take his, albeit 43 points that he would drop. I mean, he may have had to take that anyway, but still not as many as he maybe wanted, maybe hoping to get, especially with Levesque getting over 50 tonight. As it stands, and with De Nooijer trying to gain a few more points back on him as well, as he's improved up to P9 from his starting position of 14th.
Yeah, that's Lemus out of the championship, unfortunately. I can't see him coming back from this now. And you're right, Brzezinski does have a decent drop week, so he might be okay. But and he's still getting repairs done, by the way. He is going to try and carry on, I think, here, but it's not really going to matter. His worst so far is 8th place, so that's effectively what you're looking at here. Imagine, if you want to put it this way, that Brzezinski is running in 8th constantly, and look at where the others are. So De Nooijer would still lose points to him, even now, but Levesque would gain quite a lot, as you say. Levesque would score 52 at the moment, and that is 9 better off than Brzezinski, so he'd be 9 points ahead at the moment. This is turning into a decent day now for Guillaume Levesque, and this is making it better. Obono Diaz just going a bit wide there over the top at turn 3 has allowed Nick Ludecky to get right into the back of him here for 3rd place. This is allowing the front 2 to get away with the lead here.
Yeah, and Diaz almost holding up Nick Ledecky now and just allowing Levesque to have a little bit of breathing room and look forward in his battle with Aiden Young rather than having to look back as well. They'll stick pretty close together through turns 6 and 7. Diaz just about ahead of Ledecky, La Charité, Sykes, Steenberg in this all as well. They'll be looking to pick up the pieces. And Steve Monterio just quietly going about his business towards the back of this pack in P8. Of course, teammate to the champion last season, Vincent Trepanier, was a team's champion in Season 4 of 2024. Not able to quite replicate the same advantage and points that he had last season at the start of this year. But still, good results so far this season. And a good position to try and benefit from at the moment, with still a long way to go in this race.
I think because he's in a Porsche, he's just trying to do what he can to get the most out of today rather than actually try and win the day. Just try and limit the damage. He's actually got ahead of Denier, and it might be quite hard to keep him behind, to be honest, but he's going to try and do his best, and he's going to try and help Levesque as they try and win the team's championship. That's Apex Racing Team, Advanced Motorsports combining there, those two, to try and win the championship there, but Wilderness Racing are on top at the moment. It's a team containing Brzezinski, Ledecky, etc. Done better so far this season. Over the top of the hill there through turn 5. Aiden Young is, well, he was gifted the lead, wasn't he, rather, but he's, this is another view of the crash in slow motion. It looked to me like Brzezinski there was trying to squeeze Lemus as much as possible on the inside, and the two cars got hooked together. Lemus spins around to the left and sort of gets squashed between the wall and Brzezinski's front nose, and look at the debris that's going everywhere as well. Brzezinski's car's toast. Lemus is still travelling here. And, thank goodness he laid to rest off the circuit as well, because he wouldn't have been able to move that car, that's for sure. It's an unbelievable accident. It really is.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything like that, and I can't even fathom seeing something like it ever again. I mean, obviously it happens, so there's every chance that it can be replicated, but it's absolutely huge. At least it's some good promo for the Mexican Grand Prix later this year, if you watch that enough times in slow motion. But I mean, it didn't even, there wasn't even the biggest amount of contact either between the two cars. But with the high-speed nature, with the angle that they speared into the barrier, that kind of incident is possible. But yeah, absolutely huge. At least for the team, the Vima team, Diaz is there to pick up the pieces and inherit P3, so not all is lost from a team's perspective. But yeah, they're going to be gutted to have one out of the race for sure.
Out of the championship contention as well. We're going to have to strike him off. Steenberg is up to 7th. He will move ahead of him. Terrio as well. Chris Beats will move ahead of him. Nick Ledecky as well. They've all survived here early on. Well, has Ledecky? Actually, that's not true, is it? Nick Ledecky is not at the... oh, no, he is. Excuse me. He's 4th place. He's further up than I thought. So, yeah. Unfortunately, they're all going to overtake Van Lemmet here, and he's going to be at least 8th, if not worse. Meanwhile, Denier gets past Terrio. I said that it's going to be a race of survival for the Porsche, and it's certainly turning out to be. Kevin Denier down the inside and through into the foreign chicane, and there you go in the background in the McLaren. He is on his way, and now at the moment just at least not losing any points to Brzezinski, but he would be 10 behind Levesque if things stay as they are. Denier is not done for the day. He needs to gain some more places before the end.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. He will be knowing that, really, but I'm sure he'll be confident in getting a position or two. Christian Steenberg, Simon Sykes. I mean, Sykes a bit of an unknown quantity this season. We've not seen him start a race yet in 2025, and so he's a little bit of an unknown quantity, but with every passing lap, I think drivers know more about the fact that he has got quite a nice lick of pace to him in that 22, not someone that you can easily roll over, and Kevin Denoyer will be able to see that, but he'll know that Steenberg's not too far in front. Sykes, Charité, they're within range, but I think the difficulty is he's a little bit too far back to make any moves for the time being, and 1.6 seconds back, he may be a little bit too far off the pack if there's just a little mistake to be able to pick up the pieces immediately, but difficult to really say, because you could have little moments through corners like here at turn 10, or you could have whatever the hell we saw at the final corner a few minutes ago.
It's a very tricky situation here for Ledecky, because he looks quicker than Diaz. Diaz doesn't look quick enough to stay with the two leaders, but at the moment, if you're battling away and you're trying to get past Diaz, that's going to cost you even more time and you'll be even further off the lead. So, not sure whether Ledecky needs to just bite the bullet here and overtake him, or whether staying behind would keep him closer to maybe jump him in the pit lane and then chase after the front two later. But at the moment, these lot waiting around, sort of looking amongst and chatting amongst themselves about what to do about this. They're sort of allowing the lead to get away from them here. Young and Levesque a good couple of seconds out front already, and as we saw in the last race, you don't often bring those kind of margins back.
No, you don't. But maybe you will if you start getting close like that through turn 6 and 7. If Diaz is holding up this train, then it gives a chance to the likes of Denoyer, and if they start battling side by side, it's going to bunch them up. It's going to create a bit of a concertina effect, and it could only take a couple of corners of that for Denoyer to be well within a second. So it's a gap, but it could be futile to build up that gap if there's a little bit of fighting in front. Stieberg has the advantage, but you know, it's not really in his control whether that will maintain from here towards the end of the race. It's still such a long way to go, over nearly 30 minutes to go, well over half the race still left to run, and you'd say it's difficult to imagine them running, you know, single file like this to the end of the race.
Well, yes, yeah, it is, but just wondering at what stage it's going to start to kick off here, and whether any of these lot have still got a chance of winning this race. I'm almost, even at 28 minutes to go, inclined to say no. Not even a third of the way through yet, but it's so difficult to pull back a margin like this once it's opened. I'm afraid the longer this goes on, the less likely it gets. Last time around, Aidan Young in the front of the race did an 18.0, so did Diaz, but Levesque did a 17.9. The others in the 18.1s. It's close, but that's exactly what I mean. Even if they gain 0.2 of a second a lap, it's going to take you 10 laps. And the point at which there are only 10 laps to go is going to creep up on you very quickly indeed. In fact, we've already had 10 laps of this race. This gives you an idea of just how quickly those last 10 are going to be rattled off here. And if we're presuming that it's going to be 2 attempts a lap and 10 laps, then you're going to need to get a move on with this, because then you've got to start to think about making an overtake as well. You've got to factor in the fact you'll lose time making the pass on Diaz as well. All of a sudden, this maths all of a sudden looks very difficult for everybody else who is not in the top 2.
Yeah, I think Young and Levesque are going to be having an absolutely wonderful time at the front right now. Guillaume looks like he's maybe a little bit faster than Aidan Young. Difficult to say. They're very well matched at least. If not Guillaume being a tad faster, it's difficult to say because he's in the slipstream, so he's naturally gaining time down the straights, and of course naturally losing time through the corners by virtue of being in the dirty air. But they are maintaining a nice gap back to Ubaldo Diaz for the time being, which is staying pretty much where it has been for a while, and that won't worry Young or Levesque at all. Levesque, if that gap starts to come down, they may start to think about trying to apply the pressure to make a move, just so that he can put himself under a little less pressure, because for his championship aspirations right now, this is a fantastic position to be in, and he'll really want to make good use of this of these possibilities.
Kevin Denoyer explained exactly what I mean here about it being difficult to close the margin. He was clearly quicker than Terrio, and now that he's passed him, he's barely made a dent into those 2 seconds. 1.9 currently the margin. As for the moment, he's going to stay on the same, or earn the same amount of points as Elliot Brzezinski on the day. That would leave him 10 behind Levesque and Brzezinski 9 behind. Now that no means puts anyone out of the question. 9 and 10 points is not very much with even three rounds to go. However, it is a much bigger advantage than what Brzezinski has at the moment, which is only 1 point over third. So it's a 10 times multiplier for you. Pretty good return for Levesque. And now lap traffic as well. Already lap traffic playing a role in this race. That is either Matt Stenwick or David Mendonca, one of the Porsches that has had a long pit stop here, getting out in front of these guys. This is going to cost them even more time. And the gap nearly now gets to 3 seconds. This is going to be a 1v1 between Young and Levesque.
It is, and not necessarily something that I would have put my money on happening to about half an hour ago, if I'm honest, because Aidan Young, as I've said, absolutely stunning in a GT4, now has, as of last night, the all-time record for GT4 wins in the PRL. He overtook Justin Rame in that regard last night, but all of his PRL wins have come in a GT4, never had a win in anything else. He's come close in the GT3, a few top fives, but nothing on the top step of the podium, and that could come tonight against the championship leader, in effect, in the series. Would be a fantastic feat to occur. No moves in the end, turn number 10, but there were a couple of looks.
There was one look from Antoine Lasserit. Got to tell you what you can get on that occasion. Stay behind. Christian Steenberg on board in the McLaren. That's his way through turn number 1. Steenberg currently 5th place in the championship. He'd be 11 points behind Brzezinski and Levesque coming into today. Would lose another 7 or so, I think, as of right now. So not out of it, but getting there. If Levesque gets podiums for the rest of the season, for example, he wouldn't be able to get there, even with wins. So again, it gets very difficult. You've got to be really close on points in the PRL. The point system doesn't really allow you to slip that far away and stay in contention. Even with the drop week not able to be taken on the last round, you can't gain points very easily, even in those circumstances. So you've got to start thinking about keeping the deficit well into single figures if you are seriously a contender. At this stage, you could still be out at 20 and make a comeback with 4 rounds to go, but you've got to start bringing that margin down from now to the end of the season. As the 5 continue in one line. They're all playing a game here with Osvaldo Diaz. By the looks of things, they are quicker than him, but not willing to overtake him. And it doesn't look like they are going to be willing to overtake him until the pit stops now.
Yeah, a pit stop. I mean, they could still be a good 10 minutes off, though, the pit stops, and that would only leave them about, you know, a 13-minute sprint to the end of the race. It's difficult to say where the pit stop's going to occur. They absolutely 100% cannot afford in any circumstance to get caught up in some traffic if they pit early. That is really the key here. Even though the field spread isn't huge, and we still have the top 24 covered by just under 26 seconds, so it's not a massive field spread. The pace in the mid-pack isn't that bad, but if you can lose a second, if you're Osvaldo Diaz and you lose a second by going for an undercut, then you're in P6 from P3. It doesn't take a lot for it to go very, very wrong, and he knows that his lead at the moment is precious and it is quite precarious. It could come undone pretty quickly in dramatic circumstances, and you know, go down from fighting and staying in the podium position to being outside the top 5. He knows he's got to watch and wait really to see what the others do, and that's not a position you really want to be in as a podium sitter right now.
Steenberg was very close to Simon Sykes there, but even then didn't give it a go. Levesque and Young know the score out front. They know that it's especially important for them to stay single file and for them to continue to build this lead at the moment. There it is on the bottom of your screen. In towards turn number 1. Young leading the field ahead of Levesque. I think these two look fairly well matched to me. If anything, Levesque has a bit of an edge over the WSR Esports by Bookkicker driver. See who comes out on top in that one, but again, they know exactly what to do. Try and stretch out as much of a margin as you possibly can and then fight it out during the pit stop phase. And if not, then in the final stint of the race as well. But what a big moment it would be for Levesque to take the race win here in this round. That would put him quite a long way ahead of the rest, and then for the last 3 rounds he'd effectively be on the defensive. So a very, very big win if you could get it here over Aidan Young. It'd be for Guillaume Levesque.
Yeah, for Guillaume Levesque, I think it's been a fantastic season up to this point. Yeah, with the win so close, I think it was maybe just nagging him a bit. Oh, if he's not able to get the win, as we see Valdez continuing to defend, Ledecky going for the move, maybe into the final corner, not going to go for it there, but he is now turning the screw, and Diaz is going to feel the heat even more every passing lap, it seems.
Oh, it's like a grenade's gone off in the middle of these lot. Look at them go now. They're going to have a battle in towards turn 1. Ledecky looks to the inside. It's always going to be contact there. Oh, it was a late move down the inside, and Osvaldo Diaz ends up in the gravel. Ledecky ends up in the wall. Possibly his championship chances going away from him tonight as well. As he goes off the road, Simon Sykes is also off here. Sykes has gone off through turn 3. It's all kicked off all of a sudden. All it takes is for that one driver to give it a go. That one moment to just kick things off. And all of a sudden, 3 Acuras are off in the first 3 corners.
Yeah, you could see it happening, couldn't you, really? It was a bit of a wider swing from Osvaldo Diaz, just opened the door, well, it was driven into, it's fair to say. Simon Sykes, I think there may have been contact between himself and Christian Steenberg. I don't want to, obviously say that there was if there wasn't, but it looked like they both lost time. So whether Sykes had his own incident, we'll have to wait and see. There's the contact with Osvaldo Diaz going into the barrier. Lucky to not get it into the wall, but you could see it from a mile away, couldn't you, really?
Can't decide whether this is too late from Ludecky or does Diaz turn in here. Ludecky is down the inside and smash. I mean, was he going to make the apex? Hard to tell from there. And this is what happened further up. So Denoyer tries to take them all. Oh, it's 3 wide at the top of the hill. And there's a slight bit of contact there between Steenberg and Sykes. So Lacherit gets third, and Sykes is very narrowly avoided by Denoyer and Lenaway, who come through in 5th and 6th.
And for Kevin Denoyer, realistically, he has made maybe a move or two in this race. He started P14, is now into P5. He's just being able to keep it clean, and he's gaining so much because of it.
Yeah. 9 places without really making any overtakes. He did pass Sue Ontario, not being unfair to him, but most of the positions he's gained have not been through his overtaking. What that has done is put him second in the live championship, by the way, still behind Levesque, of course, but now ahead of Elliot Budzinski, who's officially out of the race. But this race has been quite bizarre on so many levels so far, so calm for so long, but 2 moments of complete madness there.
We've had a bit of a that kind of heart rate championship, haven't we? We've had quite a few calm races with not a great deal going on. Drivers getting themselves towards the end of the race, just trying to make sure that they keep it nice and safe, get the points home. And then we've had races like we saw at Daytona with a winning margin having to be decided by the tens of thousandths of a second. Here we're having the Kennedy Center moving from Florida to Georgia at the final corner. We've got crashes into turn 1, at turn 3 as well, with leading battlers. It really has been a dramatic race, and with Aidan Young leading it in a GT3 race, not something we've seen very much, if at all, in the PRL. It really has been a bit higgledy-piggledy, and we've still got 17 minutes to go.
He hasn't been on the podium yet, Young, by the way, for context. A comment coming in on YouTube chat from David Bush to clarify something for us. I guess he might be watching back at us, wondering why he was dropping back in the Fixed Series race. He's clarifying that he collected some cones at turn 3 in the previous race, and it broke his car. You did comment that something looked wrong with his car. I just thought his tyres had gone off or something, but no, you were right. It was clearly a bit of damage, some of those deadly cones getting stuck in places you don't want them. That can certainly be a problem on occasion, and it's unfortunate that he dropped to 9th in that fashion. So good to know that, actually, that for the rest of this race, actually, that tyres going off is not likely to be a problem, but if you run over the cones, it might be.
Yeah. And you can always risk running over a cone or two around this circuit. There are a fair few dotted around parts of the racetrack. But you don't really want to be hitting one of those. I thought for a split second there that Steenberg was going to go for a move on Le Charité in the same way that we saw happen between Ledecky and Diaz. Thankfully he didn't go for it and will continue on, but the battle for first and third at the moment, 2 drivers basically climbing all over the driver in front, but just not able to make a move at the moment.
I really suspect after the last couple of occasions of people attempting moves has ended up with a space program and and 3 Acuras off in the gravel, 1 at the start of the race and 1 on halfway. So I think any moves on the circuit are very much going to be reserved for later now. So we wait for the pit stops to really begin. The top 28 have still not been in pit lane, by the way. 28th in the race is Chris Peaks, who is 7th in the championship. Not with a great drop week. Came at Jerez, where he finished in 13th. So he could be dropping out of championship contention here tonight as well. It's Guillaume Levesque at the moment who is putting a lot of these drivers out of contention properly. I would say if you're any more than 20 points behind going into the next round, you could be in a bit of trouble. And at the moment, only Budzinski, Denoyer, Steenberg, maybe Terrio are going to be in that range right now.
Absolutely. And I mean, yeah, it's a really weird position really to be in now with only 15 minutes to go, especially considering we had that train for P3 right on the back of this leading duo not a million years ago, and all of a sudden now that's just been a little bit broken up. Kevin Simpson in P9, I mean, he went off the road, didn't he, at turn 3, well at turn 1 all on his own, and that went all the way down to here at turn 4 and 5. But he still finds himself inside the top 10. He's gained a couple of positions from drivers having some issues, and yet we're also still waiting for those pit stops. I said about 9 minutes ago we might be waiting about 10 minutes. I think that probably might be right. I can't imagine everyone's going to dive in this lap, but I think a fair few might.
Certainly looking like it's the time for some people to start thinking about it here. Simpson and Sykes get together again here. Simpson was leading this race, of course, earlier on. Went off at turn 1, dropped all the way outside of the top 10. Now back in it, but for how long, you wonder. Single file between these battles, and it's not in the background. Sykes looking to go past Simpson in towards the chicane. And it looks like he got it done pretty easily there. I'm not sure what's happened to Simpson ever since he went off the road there down to 11th. It just seems he's lost all sort of motivation for this race to me when he went off the road there. It's only 10th. He only gained 1 place despite 3 Acuras going off up ahead of him. He's just had another one of them just overtake him there, so don't really know quite what has happened to him. But either way, this is how it happened. Sykes with a pretty simple run out of turn 7 in the slipstream. Initially looked like he was going to push Simpson, but he's actually just very close in behind and just makes a pretty easy move down the inside.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, yeah, late on the brakes. Wasn't even really a battle of any sorts. Kevin Simpson just braking early, letting off the throttle and allowing him to come through and make a move. And in the end, that's going to cost him P9, but he's still in the battle and still right behind the likes of Terrio and Diaz, who are fighting over 7th and 8th now after Diaz has dropped down the order. In this battle for P3, Christian Steenberg wouldn't mind an extra couple of points. Another driver who hasn't necessarily had those headline results, only the 1 podium so far this season, but still, I mean, 11 points off in the championship. This could be a really interesting run for him to the end of the season, because he'll be gaining on the likes of Guillaume Levesque, Kevin Denoyer at the moment as well. So this could be a really interesting race for the championship for him, and he might shoot himself into contention in the last 3 races.
Pit stops are upon us. Young, Lashery, Denoyer, Terrio, Diaz, Simpson, Puchtel, all into the pit lane. Up onto the jacks as well for Young here, taking a tyre or 2. As will his teammate Lashery. Terrio stays on the ground. He does pit finally. He just go up onto the jacks just as some of the others come to a stop. Aidan Young comes to a start again, and he's out in clear traffic as well. So important laps to come now. Out laps for him. He needs to be quicker than Levesque. And look at this on the way out pit lane. Oh, Diaz there just gets ahead of Simpson, who seemed to have a better pit stop there. Diaz behind Terrio still here, who's still in the top 10, by the way, and might even get a good result despite the Porsche's woes around here.
There wasn't a million miles between them, was it, on the exit of that pit box? But this is where it's going to be key. Guillaume Levesque surely going to come into the pit lane this time round. Doesn't want to get caught up with the traffic in front of him, and will indeed come into the box. This is going to be the crucial moments in this race. Aidan Young is about 30 seconds behind. How far can he gain? Can he make sure he's back into the race lead and give himself an 11-minute sprint to try and keep himself there and take all 55 points with it?
Looks like this is the time to come in. Looks like this might be the limit here with 11 minutes still to go. We have gone quite a long way through the race, to be fair. You can understand why. William Fenton will now not lead a lap, neither will Fonseca. So then, where is Aidan Young? And where is Levesque going to be in comparison to him? There goes Young, right round the outside, onto the front straight again here. Levesque is already moving here. Oh, I'm not sure this is good news for Aidan Young. Levesque is already on his way and he's gone. Levesque has gone here. He's coming out the pit lane. He's over a second ahead of Aidan Young. Where was the time gain for Guillaume Levesque? It was in the box itself. 1 second shorter in the box for Guillaume Levesque. Some of that has come on the racetrack as well, of course. But Guillaume Levesque is leading this race by a comfortable margin, and he's going to be leading the championship by the end of the day as well.
Yeah, and Aidan Young, it's going to feel like it's going to come up just short for him. He leading the race for pretty much half an hour, but it doesn't really matter if you only lead the final 10 minutes. If you lead the final 30 seconds, it doesn't matter. You just have to get across the checkered flag at first, and it seems like what Levesque is going to do, of course, too early to count the chickens, with still a fair bit of racing to go. But Levesque is consistent. He is calm. He's composed. He's the championship leader for a reason, and you'd be hard-pressed to say Aidan Young can catch and overtake him now. So Levesque in a very strong position, but even so, Aidan Young in P2, he'll be happy. The battle for P3, though, will rage on, even though Steenberg now has a 2-second advantage of his own.
Yeah, Steenberg has jumped Antoine Lasserie with the shortest pit stop of anybody, actually. Steenberg. So that's how he's up to 3rd place. Denoyer is up to 5th, ahead of Corbin Lenaway, who's done a great job in this race, just picking off drivers who have fallen by the wayside. Probably better than anybody at that so far today. And it's Simon Sykes, Roberto Diaz, Simon Terrio and Kevin Simpson rounding out the top 10. So roughly the same as we were. Steenberg is one position further up in front, and so he will again take a limited loss on the championship here today. Will still lose 5 points to Levesque, which will put him 15 behind in the next part of the season. Meanwhile, Steve Baker goes off at turn 5. That's remarkable. That's the first real incident through turn 5 as David Mendonca stopped on the exit pit lane.
Yeah, not really where the 55 wants to be. I'm not too sure why he stopped there, but it's not been a good day for David Mendonca at all. He's 3 laps down. He's really out of contention. But he's ahead of a whole host of drivers who are out of this race with the collisions and the incidents that we've seen. Ledecky, Kienitz, Brzezinski, Lemieux, Almeida, Brock, Vea, Warren. I mean, all of them coming and falling victim to this race. Some in more dramatic circumstances than others, of course, but it means that there is only now, how many is that on the lead lap? 29 on the lead lap. Marshall Scare is the last one. But it has been great to see, actually, that the pace generally across the field has been high from everybody in that the pace of Marshall Scare is, you know, all of a second and a half off per lap at a maximum off of the race leader, and you know it can be more than that regularly in some races. So good to see the field is nice and compact in this race.
It doesn't change too much though, unless they're overtaking each other, and that's been the story of the race so far. Bar a moment here or there. Simon Terra is on the back of Alberto Diaz here, and again looking quicker than him. However, how is he going to get through in the Porsche around this circuit? I'm not entirely sure for 8th position. It's been a bit of a battering race, unfortunately, for Diaz. He's ended up backwards in the gravel, the hands of Nick Ledecky earlier on. Now he's just going backwards on the tower instead. This time it's Simon Terra who's right behind him. It's the battle for 5th place. Kevin Danier is seeing off Corbin Lenaway as things stand with just over 7 minutes to go. It's remarkable that these big groups that existed before the pit stops have completely split apart because of them. Yeah.
I mean, the race was tight, wasn't it? It's kind of been blown open over the course of the last 20 minutes or so. And yeah, really widening out heavily. But it's going to create a little bit of a calmer finish, more what we've come to expect in the last few races of this championship, but not exactly what the likes of Baldo Diaz would want. He would want to be kind of under he wouldn't want to be under pressure, but he'd rather be under pressure for P3 than trying to find anything for P8, under pressure for P8, mind you, with Terrio just a couple of tenths behind. So a little bit of a quieter race, but I don't think everyone will mind that terribly.
Such a bizarre race. I mean, quiet mostly, but 2 moments of complete madness in the race. A pretty clinical one as far as Guillaume Levesque is concerned. Stuck behind Aidan Young early on, saving a bit of fuel, no doubt, when it came to it. And his in-lap and his out-lap, he was quicker in the box, and he's got the lead as a result. And he's not even having to battle for the lead afterwards. So effective he has been here tonight, Guillaume Levesque. It looks like he's on his way to take his 2nd race win of the season. What a fantastic time to get it as well. So he's got just under 6 minutes to go. There's Terrio on the bottom of his screen again here, still trying to get past Alberto Diaz, but he's going to run into the classic Porsche problem, I think, of not having quite enough speed on the straight line here.
Yeah, he's trying to make a move and he is applying the pressure, but there's only so much you can do when you have a little bit of a disadvantage down the straight, and you can be right on the tail. But if you can't be gaining or you're losing just a 100th or 2, then it's not quite going to be enough. Maybe a late set into turn 1, that's not worked out before. He's going to think better of it and not go for it this time around. But if he wants to make the move, he's going to have to go for it somewhere, because he can't just sit in and wait until the checkered flag flies, because he won't have a chance of picking up the points, albeit he may be happy to sit in P9. P8 is only going to be an extra point, and he may realise that isn't necessarily worth the risk if it takes them both out of real contention and drops them down about 20 positions or so.
Just less than 5 minutes for Terrio to find a way here. He might be able to play on the fact that Diaz has already been in one of those battles that has gone wrong and sent him down the field. If he wants to sort of make the bet that Diaz will be a little bit more tentative as a result, then he could certainly stop being a bit more aggressive maybe, but it doesn't look like he's quite willing to make that bet at the moment here for 8th position. He hasn't got long to figure this out either. Over the line again. Looks like these guys still have got 4 laps to go here, as far as I can see. Maybe more. we will... no, it should be 4, actually. Excuse me. Should be 4 to go. Terrio absolutely nowhere near making a pass again there on the way down towards the final chicane. Over the line to start another lap, lap number 28 of this race now. Alberto Diaz still hanging on to 8th place in the 8 car. Can he hold on the whole way home? There are the gaps. I mean, Terrio is basically having his pace dictated by Diaz at the moment. Can he just fashion an opportunity? Can he just get one chance here in this race? I think the 7th place, 8th place finish, I should say, in a Porsche, considering where he qualified, will be a fantastic return for him. But can he do this in the final 3.5 laps here?
It will have to wait and see. It's just, there's not a lot of time left for this race to run its course, is there? But yeah, 3 minutes or so. Well, that'll be when they cross the line. I think we will have another 3 laps, won't we? Yeah, we will indeed. For Levesque to get to the end of this race. There's still chances for Terrio to make a move here, maybe try and find a way through, even Lenaway maybe on Denoyer. That battle for P5 and 6 tightening up to only a couple of tenths of a second as they run their way through. But really is. I mean, the difference in the opening 20 minutes of the race and the closing 20 minutes of the race really is chalk and cheese. Incredible that they are part of the same race, really, with the chaos and the closeness that was the first 20 minutes compared to this more open, maybe a battle to here and there affair for the second half of the race. So really weird to see that the juxtaposition between the two halves of the race. However, either way, Levesque and Young are going to be out in front. It's just a different order again.
Yeah. Just 2.5 minutes to go. A very slight bit of pressure here from Corbin Lenaway. And still holding on to that 5th position for the moment. It is very slight pressure, really. He's not going to be too concerned for the moment, I wouldn't say. Best placed McLaren in the field, by the way. There isn't another one in the top 16. Shows you the, well, apart from Steenberg, of course, I mean, they're part of the same team. Sort of lumping them together, if you like. They're doing a great job with the McLaren this season. Denoyer and Steenberg are both very much in the conversation for the championship. Levesque will gain 12 points on Brzezinski today. So he'll be 12 points ahead as a result. And just a bit closer behind him will be Denoyer. Just a bit further behind him than Brzezinski will be Steenberg. I think those 4 are going to be the ones to watch through the final part of the season. Just 2 laps to go here now as round 6 of the championship draws ever closer towards a close. Can't see any of these positions inside the top 10 changing for the moment. None of them have offered anything substantial for us to really look at here as far as an overtake goes.
No, let's see. We can always hope that there's a last-minute battle in the last lap, maybe across the line. Well, I mean, the last Cyber selection we saw, meaningful Cyber selection across the final corner, didn't end very well. Let's see if we can improve on that and end the race on a high note with some great little moments. Maybe that'll come between this battle between Denoyer and Lenaway. We don't quite know. They'll have one more lap to try and sort it out between themselves with the white flag flying in just a moment. But yeah, he'll be happy to finish in P5, starting in P14, not exactly where you want to be starting, but a really good run through the field, keeping his nose clean and getting himself into a position to score some big points. Yes, he's losing out to Levesque, but he is gaining on Brzezinski, and he'll put himself back into P2 in the championship and back into real meaningful contention here tonight.
And they're all behind this man. Guillaume, not only in this race, but indeed in the championship as well. Guillaume Levesque on his way to a 17th victory in the PRL. Brings him to tied 22nd all time, by the way. Number 17. Very experienced driver in the Precision Racing League. Very successful driver as well in this championship. And he could well be on his way to a championship. He has done it before in the Sprint Series. Well, it was nearly 3 years ago now. He is going to be a championship leader after 6 rounds and a race winner here at Road Atlanta as well. Last time round, the margin was 0 thousandths of a second at Daytona when Guillaume Levesque took a race victory in the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. This time round it's going to be a lot bigger than that, but a very important win nevertheless for Guillaume Levesque of Apex Racing Team and Advanced Motorsports. He crosses the line first with the checker flag waving. On a big day for the championship, he takes charge with race victory in Georgia.
Yeah, a really important way to end this second third of the season. He's now in a fantastic position, picking up where his rivals have kind of dropped off a touch this evening. The problems that we've seen from Elliot Budzinski, maybe not the amount of points that Kevin Denoyer would want to pick up, meaning that he finished in P5. He's taken advantage. He's driven absolutely brilliantly, and he has found himself to the front of the field again, as has Blake CT. Another great drive for the 50.
Yep, ZT is going to gain 9 points over Kevin Kiernitz here today, by the way, and so he will only be 6 back going into the next round. A great win for him here at Road Atlanta as he finishes first in the AM class here tonight, just ahead of Mark Elliott and Marshall Scare, who will be on the podium. At Kevin Kiernitz, with an early crash, finishes 8 laps down in 32nd, and that's not his drop week. This race will count. He had a worst race at Long Beach, and so he will take some hits in the championship points. Blake CT will now be closest behind him. It is Guillaume Levesque who wins overall here at Road Atlanta, ahead of and Christian Steinberg on the podium. Antoine Lasserie and Kevin Denier finish inside the top 5, with Corbin Lenaway doing a good job to pick up the pieces from a lot of other crashes to finish in 6th place. Enter Simon Sykes, Obodo Diaz, Simon Terrio and Kevin Simpson rounding out the top 10. 11th goes to Matthew Bisceglia, with Emmett Lingvist just behind. Ryan Puctel finishes 13th ahead of the first of the Mustang. Justin Cobb 14th ahead of Uthman Aloui 15th. Then Nicholas Mazur and William Fenton, followed by Miguel Angel Fonseca, Ethan Bass and Alex Carver rounding up the top 20. 21st went to Chris Stewart ahead of Steve Baker, who spun through turn 5 midway through the race. Blake CT wins in the AM class, 23rd overall ahead of Joshua Spears and Noah Anderson, who round out the top 25. Chris Beat finishes 26th ahead of Mark Elliott and Marshall Scare on the podium in the AMs as well. Jason Allen and Matt Stednowit round out the top 20, at 30 I should say. Then you've got Damon Mendonca, Kevin Kiernitz, who did finish. Nick Hideki didn't. Devin Brock was actually out there at the very end, but he still finishes 25 laps down. Juan Lewis, Dino Bello, Elliot Budzinski, Alex De Almeida and Jermaine Warren crashed out and retired at the end of only a couple of laps. Let's have a chat to Guillaume Levesque, who has won round 6 of the championship pretty convincingly in the end. Congratulations, Guillaume, and welcome to the booth as well. Nearly 2 seconds at the line. Were you surprised by the advantage you held over Aidan Young there as he came out the pit lane at 1 lap later than him?
Yeah, a little bit. I went all in with the fuel strat. I was really short. I was cuffing just before the line, even if I saved a bit after the pit. But I knew to beat the Acura I would need to do something like this, because to be honest, I'm really surprised to win this. The Acura this week was flying all the week, and I didn't race all week because I got a new little puppy, so no time to practice. But yeah, I'm a bit surprised about this and really happy, to be honest. But yeah, I was a bit surprised with the gap. But yeah, I held it pretty well, I think. And yeah, good race overall.
And it sets you up very well for the final 3 rounds of the championship as well. According to my maths, you'll be about 10 points ahead of Kevin Denier, about 12 points ahead of Budzinski, a couple more ahead of than that overhead of Christian Steinberg, who are probably closest to you. How do you feel about a 10-point margin-ish going into the last 3 rounds?
We will see again if Corvette is good and if I'm able to do all the rounds. Hopefully I will, but we will see. But yeah, will make my best to try to clinch the champ, even if I don't have any more drop round because of last week. But yeah, we will try our best.
Yep, hopefully we'll see you for the last 3 weeks. Congratulations on the win tonight, Guillaume, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thanks to you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Guillaume Levesque there, the winner here at Road Atlanta, ahead of Aidan Young, who finished in 2nd. Congratulations, Aidan, on a podium, your first podium of the season, actually, which feels strange to be saying to you, actually, after the season you've had, but nevertheless, it is a podium for you tonight. I'll pose the same question I asked to Guillaume. Were you surprised the advantage that he came out with after pitting 1 lap later than you?
Not really, no. I kind of expected it. You know, he has more experience in the GT3s, so of course he was going to have the fuel strategy nailed, and that showed with the jump he was able to have on me. I'm not as experienced in the GT3s as I am in the GT4s, and I mean, pace-wise, I'm all right. Pace, I actually feels fine, especially after jumping from the Corvette to the Acura. That made a bigger difference. Felt a lot faster and a lot better in the Acura. Actually, having a car that can turn is pretty nice. So that kind of helped me out a little bit with confidence, which also helped increase my pace. But yeah, it's just the losing the win came down to just the experience difference.
The Acura is getting very popular. I don't blame you at all for picking it. I mean, do you think that GT3 experience or lack of has held you back a little bit this season? You're still ninth in the championship after all. Are you pleased with how it's gone?
Yeah, you know, after not showing up for round 1 and popping in round 2, not knowing what to expect, and then ended up finishing P4, that I feel like, you know, this season's going all right. I mean, 2 double top 10s. I think that was Suzuka and the week before, which I forgot what track it was. I mean, not the best. My favorite race from this season, though, was probably Jerez, going from like P30 up to P6 with the rain there at the end on the dries. But yeah, Road Atlanta was fun. I enjoyed this race, and getting a podium out of it with the new car is pretty good.
And we may have more rain to come, of course, later on in the season. We'll wait and see on that. But congratulations on your first podium of the season, Nate. Thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Aidan Young there, second place here tonight at Road Atlanta. Now let's go into the AM class, where Blake Ziti has taken race victory tonight. Congratulations, Blake, on race victory number 2 of the season, going all the way back to round number 1, where you took the first. But this one feels very important. You've now really closed the margin in the championship, by my maths, to just 6 points. Just how important does this feel to you to take the win here tonight at Road Atlanta?
It feels very important, man. It feels good to be able to get the win after a rough few weeks that I had, and you know, definitely needed to make up some points on Kevin here. It's been a up and down championship for sure.
What do you think the key is to stop it from being so up and down, and maybe a bit more flatlined positively for you in the last 3 rounds of this season, which are going to be so crucial, of course?
I honestly think just slow and steady would be able to win this for me, just to keep it consistent and not really trying to push it, because the last few weeks I felt really good, and I think I was not driving beyond my limits, but to do the whole entire race that way, I haven't quite gotten there yet. So I need to just tighten that up and clean up those mistakes, and I'll be good to go.
All right, we'll look forward to seeing you next week, if possible. Congratulations on the win tonight at Road Atlanta, and thanks for chatting to us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
Thanks very much. Blake Ziti, the winner here in Road Atlanta, ahead of Mark Elliott, who finished in second place in the AM class. Welcome in, Mark. Congratulations on second place in the AM class here tonight. How did you find your evening at Road Atlanta?
Thank you. Yeah, it was interesting. Just trying to keep it straight and follow the pack. I just got to minimize some of those little mistakes. But it was good overall.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is your first podium of the season, or maybe second. You've certainly not had too many this season. How do you think it's been for you as a whole for the first 6 rounds?
Yeah, it's been really good, to be honest. And I mean, Blake said it really well. It's been fun racing with those guys and clean. And it's just trying to minimize the mistakes. Everybody's so fast, so it's just keep it forward, avoid the major mistake, and just, you know, do what you can.
Absolutely. Congratulations for staying out of trouble tonight and finishing second, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mark Elliott there in second place in the AM class tonight. Well, what an evening of racing here at Road Atlanta, from quiet to madness and back again on multiple occasions here tonight in the Fixed and Sprint Series. Darragh, it's set us up very well, though, I've got to say, for the final 3 rounds of this championship coming up, starting with Donington Park next week.
Looking forward to Donington, a circuit that I know yourself and I know a little bit better than we do Road Atlanta. But it's a circuit that I think we're going to be really excited to see some of these drivers race at, see where they can try and gain some time. Let's see if they can go this high again at Donington. I don't think they can, but I didn't think they could do it here. So we'll have to wait and see. But that'll be 7 days' time. Can't wait.
Absolutely can't wait. It's the first time we've been to North America, by the way, since round 2 at Daytona, and it was a bit of a crash back down to earth for some. That is for sure here at Road Atlanta tonight. Some great racing in between, though. Guillaume Levesque taking the victory in the PRL GT3 Sprint Series to take the championship lead with just 3 rounds to go. Ricardo Delgado second in the championship in the Fixed Series, going off tonight. He's got some work to do, returning at Donington Park in 7 days' time. Very much hope that you can join us then. A big thanks to everyone who's joined us here tonight. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Dal Thacker and Ramiro. Augustin Cisneros has been behind the cameras. It's goodbye from Road Atlanta. We'll see you in 7 days' time at Donington Park. Goodbye for now.